Hello, everyone. Welcome to Zen and Fanfics. Today we are featuring What If Deku Became Green Lantern? The story is written by Springtrap 212332 on Wattpad. Before we start, please like and subscribe for more content. Now let's dive into the story. Izuku watched from the abandoned building he'd taken refuge in as the battle continued. This war had gone on for over a year, and much of Japan had been destroyed. After All Might's retirement, the villains had taken it upon themselves to wreak anarchy across the country. Led by All for One, the one who defeated All Might. His home had been caught in the crossfire, his mother splattered across the street as the building fell on her. He had tried to find Mitsuki Bakugo, but she had already vanished with her husband, Laiki Tua. Izuku never tried seeking refuge at the flying school, knowing that as a quirkless he would be turned away. Probably a good thing, as the school had been taken down by Shigaraki and crashed into the ocean. All civilian refugees dead within the hour. Instead, Izuku had been hopping towns and cities, scavenging for food and drink. But no matter where he went, it seemed as if he always found where a fight was being held. So as Izuku watched All for One and Shigaraki fight Lemillion, he knew he was going to die if he stayed in place. So he carefully slipped through the network of broken beams and fallen walls. Escaping the building right as a powerful blast caused it to fall in on itself. Izuku ran. A civilian? This close to the battle. Oh ho ho, Tamura, handle him. Of course, sensei. Izuku reacted on instinct rather than thought. Leaping onto a crate, then up at a light pole, he used a backflip over Shigaraki. He went soaring into the pole and through it, decaying a long, wide tunnel into the ground at his failed attempt. Izuku turned and ran in a new direction, but almost got caught by a hand reaching out of the ground, grasping for his ankle. Left, right, right, Izuku dodged, ducked, and weaved, knowing that Shigaraki was only playing with him. Then he reached the building he was hoping he'd reach. Rushing into the lobby, Izuku hit the elevator button and hit a random number before rushing for the stairs. He managed to get out of sight before the ground exploded, and Shigaraki came climbing out of the hole. Elevator. Not sure if that kid's smart or dumb. Probably dumb and tired. Izuku heard the sound of the villain shooting through the air and rushed up the stairs, knowing if he got high enough he could leap across the gap between this building and the next. Izuku hadn't spoken once, and wasn't even slightly out of breath, having learnt quickly that any talk was suicide, and spent the majority of the past 2 years running. If Izuku was completely honest with himself, he wasn't sure if he could speak anymore. A roar of rage echoed through the empty building as Shigaraki discovered his ruse. A flash of red and white shot past the fire escape door, flying through the floors in a reckless dive. Izuku ignored it and leapt over the hole silently, rising to the window. The floor began to shake under him, the building tilting. He decayed the supports. Izuku freaked out and leapt from the window, the crash near silent compared to the crashing of the building. He hadn't gotten up more than 5 floors and hit the ground painfully. He climbed to his feet and limped towards the nearest building, not noticing that Shigaraki had seen him. He entered the service station, opening and slipping into the office. The doors were locked open with such force that Izuku almost cried out in fear. No. Where is it? I know that they always have one in here. Izuku begged, finding what he was looking for attached to the bottom of the desk. Perfect pump-action shotgun, fully loaded. He checked how many bullets were loaded. Fully loaded. His fear faded and he walked out of the office. If I die, I die fighting. Izuku slipped out of the door, creeping along the stacks towards Shigaraki's show, was muttering to himself. Kill the civilian, he says. Have fun, he says. I can handle the one for Albrat. BSDRD. Izuku stood as, without missing a beat, pulled the trigger. Shigaraki lost an arm, which immediately began to grow back. You little SHD. He roared, swiping at the gun. Izuku just pumped it and shot at his hand, blasting it off at the elbow. He then unloaded every round into Shigaraki's center mass, all the while being sprayed by BLD and gore amidst the screams. Shigaraki leapt at him, and he pulled the trigger. No more bullets. Instead, Izuku swung the gun like a bat, clocking him across the face with the butt of the gun. Surprisingly, that was the most effective course of action as Shigaraki was caught off guard, getting sent flying into a rack that snapped, a pole stabbing through his skull. That has been a long time coming. Izuku gasped for air, dropping the gun. You killed her, and countless others. My hatred is sated. Izuku stumbled out of the store into the cloud of dust and smoke. Something must have exploded while he was shooting, and it was too loud for him to notice. Now to get out of here. Izuku slowly limped away from the battle, still raging on behind him, knowing he'd done all a quirkless could do in this fight of gods. Unnoticed by him, a green light was descending from the heavens so bright that everyone would have seen it, if they weren't all glued to their screens between two live streams. One that showed Izuku, and the other showing Lemillion versus AFO. However, as Izuku walked away, the drone descended and entered the service station he'd exited. The viewers got a pleasant surprise as Shigaraki's corpse was displayed all across the globe. That body had killed Shigaraki and walked away on both feet. Izuku found a quiet alley in one of the few remaining sections of the city, sliding down to lay on the ground, feeling the cuts, bruises, and fractured bone all coming back for a vengeance now that the adrenaline rush had faded. That hurt, but you are avenged, Mom, and nobody else will be killed by that monster ever again. His eyes were closing for a nap when a green light lit up the alley. Forcing his eyes to open, Izuku saw the origin to be a small point, roughly the size of a golf ball. Izuku Midoriya of Earth, you have shown the power to overcome great fear. Welcome to the Green Lantern Corps. The light faded to reveal a green blocky ring. The ring floated towards him and slid onto his right hand middle finger. Suddenly, green energy spread across his body, covering him in a green suit of some kind with glowing green energy in every fold. New recruit must go to OA for training. Plotting course. Course plotted, the ring said. Izuku was too tired and confused to argue, standing up sluggishly despite the pain lancing through his leg. Recruit Midoriya is injured and fatigued. Compensating. Izuku suddenly found his body floating, arms pointed upwards. He blasted off, shooting up into the atmosphere faster than most quirks would be capable of going. SHIIT. Izuku stared in horror as he left Earth, neurons suddenly firing at supercharged speeds. Izuku was now only a passenger along for the ride. Izuku was awoken by a ringing beeping from the ring and saw a massive green planet ahead. He descended through the atmosphere, feeling how gravity was definitely stronger than on Earth. It seemed to lift off him just as fast as he noticed. He came down to land in front of a tall, humanoid and muscular boar/pig-like alien. Who are you, Puzzer? Aliens know Japanese? Lantern recruit Midoriya has just been recruited and is in need of training. He has selective mutism, the ring said. Hal Jordan of Earth is unavailable for the introductory course. Not often we see someone who chooses not to talk. Most recruits are blabbermouths. Come with me. I was just heading toward the mess hall. When was the last time you ate, Runt? Izuku blushed when his stomach growled, but held up 7 fingers. 7 could mean a lot of things. Minutes? Hours? The big guy asked. Izuku spread his hands wider. What days? Izuku nodded. Food. Hard. Find. War, Izuku rasped before shutting his mouth. A war? Ring. Elaborate. The human country of Japan has been at war with a powerful quirk villain called All for One and his student Tamura Shigaraki for 2 years. Their infrastructure has been heavily damaged and much of the population has died on the ground. All for One could steal quirks has done so for 200 years. That is all of the public known information. Recruit Midoriya managed to kill Tamura Shigaraki while defending himself shortly before being chosen. All for One is still locked in combat. The man looked troubled as they entered a large food place. Now, I get humans have delicate digestive tracts, so your ring will beep over anything you can't eat safely. Just reach for it, and it should react. Izuku nodded and shyly followed the alien through the line, following the ring's directions for what to eat, and followed the alien to a table. Now, let me tell you the basics about what's going on. Make sure to remember, because I don't repeat myself. The Green Lantern Corps is an intergalactic peacekeeping force formed by the Guardians who created the rings and harnessed the green light of willpower. There are a number of colors, and each corresponds to an emotion. Green for willpower, for instance. The ring is yours for as long as it finds you worthy, and the Guardians let you keep it. They lead the Corps. You got to be really lucky or unlucky to draw their attention, he said. My name's Kilowog. Refer to any lantern with a symbol as Sir for your own safety. Respect is required. The ring can HRNSS your willpower and create constructs, blasts, translate any language in its database, and so on. Its only limits are your imagination and willpower. Got it so far? Izuku nodded and frowned, staring at his ring. He formed a screen, and his thoughts were written across it. Thank you for your help, Kilowog, sir. I'm not used to people liking me in any way. He wrote out, and it was quickly shuffled and scrambled into something else. No problem, kid. How old are you? 17 to 18? I couldn't keep track of time. Safety was a luxury, let alone knowing the date. Sorry, sir, Izuku wrote sheepishly. Not your fault, kid. Why wouldn't people like you? You're actually rather nice compared to most. My world is filled with superpowers. Roughly 80% of the population has one. Japan has roughly a 95% quirk population as of 2 years ago. I was born without one, and as such I was considered less evolved and a freak. The fact Izuku didn't even look sad throughout the explanation set off alarm bells in Kilowog's mind. Well, nobody has any extra powers up here unless it's a collective racial ability, such as being a race that evolved to breathe water or not need air altogether, Kilowog said. We're all just as powerless here. Even Hal, the other human lantern, doesn't have one of these quirks. At least as far as I'm aware. And I've worked with him a fair bit. A Green Lantern of Earth other than me? I'm a hero fanatic. I would have expected to have seen a few articles about a hero as powerful as a Green Lantern seems to be. Izuku struggled to find the right words. The Guardians told Hal not to interfere with the goings-on of Earth, as there is already a hero system in place. Instead, Hal spends most of his time either with his wife or patrolling the sector. All right, sectors. The universe the Green Lanterns know of is sectioned into 3,600 sectors. Yours is 2814. Your sector only has Hal as a lantern. He can keep the peace fairly well, but he's only one man. There's usually one, maybe two lanterns a sector at most. But as Hal has family in Earth, he spends a few days a fortnight there when he can. Your presence will be a big help for him once you're all trained up. Izuku only smiled, eating his food. The grubs, while looking disgusting, were actually quite tasty. He grabbed them after seeing Kilowog grab them. If he's as big as he is, it's likely due to his diet. And Izuku knew he'd need muscle for his new job/calling. Kilowog gave Izuku a tour of the facilities he should expect to go back and forth between during his training. The med bay, mess hall, the sleeping quarters, of which 2,814 were surprisingly bare, and the training grounds. During their walking around, Kilowog's ring flashed. Lantern Kilowog. Report to the Guardians, Priority 1. DMN. All right, I'm going to have tea. Cut this short. Training starts tomorrow morning. I'll wake you for it. Izuku nodded, before returning to the sleeping quarters Kilowog had showed him. He spent the afternoon relaxing and trying out various constructs, learning about what he could do. Flight was something he found very enjoyable, spending a full hour just hovering about and getting used to the sensation. Finally, he decided to go to bed for the night. But just as he removed his ring and slipped into bed, he heard the door open. Jordan's going to get himself into trouble with that DMN ship, and I'm willing to bet he'll forget a battery, Kilowog said to himself. Izuku heard the closet open and shut before the door shut soon afterwards. Jordan? As in Hal Jordan? Izuku sighed and slipped his ring on and quickly followed Kilowog. The man flew through the halls quickly, and it was only thanks to Izuku's earlier time hovering that allowed him to keep up. Kilowog went toward a large dome with a green energy plus sign on the top. Izuku found it to be child's play to stealthily follow Kilowog, his years of evading bullies and villains making him a stealth expert. What he found, however, was something that he found almost hypnotizing. A white and green ship of a unique design. The walkway into it was already open, if dark, so as Kilowog waited for his friend to inevitably arrive, Izuku slipped in, silently walking around and exploring. It was during this time when he was alone he spoke, if rasping quietly. Appealing. He dimly heard Jordan and Kilowog talking and looked around, slipping into the engine room, which had a massive power battery and hovering behind the thing. It was warm, and almost emotionally so, like a hug. Izuku's stress melted away, and he rested a hand on the battery, feeling the pulsing of the energy like a heartbeat. He listened to Jordan and Kilowog's conversation about a ship being a she and following them to the bridge. Please define term. Appealing, a green sphere suddenly appeared to ask. That must be the AI NAV computer, Kilowog said. Hello, Aya, Jordan said. We're new best friends, Hal and Kilowog. We want to learn how to fly you. Kilowog interrupted him. AI does not spell Aya, it spells IE. But Aya is a pretty name. A pretty name for a pretty girl. Don't you ever stop? Kilowog grumbled. New designation accepted. Aya cut in. Aya, would you like to play a game? Izuku internally groaned. He's treating this like a naive child. Granted, Aya is probably like that, but he's going to corrupt her with a ton of bad habits. What game? This game is called Joyride. How does one play Joyride? Aya asked, sounding intrigued. Izuku stopped listening, instead moving to a seat to the side and settling in. He knew Jordan's type. He doesn't accept the word no. And of course, within minutes of their takeoff, the Guardians arrived. Initiate Ultra Warp now, Jordan ordered. Ultra Warp protocol requires at least 43 minutes to calculate. Aya, listen to me. Kilowog and I are Green Lanterns. We help people. Right now, there's some other Green Lanterns in trouble at the coordinates I gave you. Izuku decided to step in. Do a short Ultra Warp 2 light years from our current location. Then do the calculations, Izuku rasped. It is unsafe to bypass protocols, but a short jump would not cause any negative effects. Jumping now, Izuku felt as the power battery drew on a large amount of power, and they suddenly shot forward. Within moments, they were back in normal space. But Izuku had caught a glimpse of the tunnel and immediately figured it out. It was a funnel through the very emotional spectrum. He turned around and saw Jordan looking around in shock before finally seeing him. Who are you? He demanded. Oh God, of course you'd be as troublesome as this idiot, Kilowog said. Ow, this is Recruit Midoriya. He became a lantern today and is selectively mute. Midoriya, what the hell are you doing here? Izuku raised his ring and the screen formed. You are very loud, and when you grabbed stuff from my room, you woke me up. I got curious and followed you. I got on the ship before you, he wrote out. Kilowog just ran his hand down his face. You suggested a short warp. What? I know Lantern Jordan's type. He does not take no for an answer, but does what he believes is the right thing. I knew that the best bet was to get us safely away from OA, where I could then reveal myself too far away for you to properly send me back. You were the one in the engine bay, Aya said. Izuku nodded to the sphere. You have a very appealing heart. It is warm and comforting. Izuku frowned when Aya seemed to flicker, but paid it no mind as she returned. Define the term, appealing. Something that is attractive, awe-inspiring, incredible. Something that is lovely to look at or experience. Appealing tends to be feminine, and handsome is masculine, he wrote out. Thank you. Calculating for Ultra Warp now. She turned into a screen. You need to return to OA Midoriya, Jordan immediately told him. Not without you. That is my deal. I go back only if you go back. If you go to wherever we're going, I'm going to. I am untrained, so you will be forced to take the safe option if you want to bring me back safe and sound. Once they finished reading, Kilowog began to laugh at Jordan. He's got you by the ball now, Jordan. Either you bring him or we go back and the Guardians catch us, he jeered at the man. I could toss you out of the airlock and force you to return in your own, Jordan threatened. Try it. I'll fold you like a piece of paper, Izuku wrote, displaying a construct of the man being folded into a tiny cube. And I won't allow you to do that. Recruit Midoriya, is the only one who answered my original question, and is more logical than you, Hal Jordan, Aya said. You can call me Izuku Aya, he told the AI. Thank you, Izuku. What is that plan, Lantern Jordan? I know you aren't on a sanctioned mission, and could get into a lot of trouble, Aya said, turning toward the adult man who suddenly looked panicked. Well, fine, you can come. Cocky BSDRDS. All you humans must be insane. Kilowog threw his hands into the air. But you care anyways. Doesn't that make you more insane than us? Izuku smirked at the large man. Bah, I'm going to see what this ship has. Izuku and Jordan look at each other for a few minutes. Quirkless, the man suddenly asked. Izuku was in alert but nodded. Same. Judging by your ethnicity, you're Chinese or Japanese. Izuku held up 2 fingers. Japan. SHD, what's the war like? I killed Tamura Shigaraki earlier today. All for One was duking it out with Lemillion, who seemed to have some sort of multifaceted quirk. He seems to be able to hold his own solo. But I don't know any more. You killed a man? Aya asked. A man who could touch the ground with his hand and turn entire cities to dust, and would do so when they're fully populated for the fun of it. He was no man. Just a monster, Izuku explained. Besides he was trying to kill me, I managed to use a shotgun to blast him apart enough to then impale his head on a metal bar. I didn't have much of choice if I wanted to live. You are remarkably calm about this, Jordan frowned. I have spent 2 years homeless in a war. I've been forced to kill to survive before. I never liked it, but in Japan it's been survival of the fittest. I'm small and rather scrawny, so I can surprise my opponents with sudden attacks. And I'm not afraid to fight dirty if I must, Izuku explained sadly. That's unfortunate, but understandable, Aya said. Understandable. He killed people, so have lanterns of the past. Sometimes one must kill to save others, Aya reasoned. If I had to kill a man to save 1,000 children, I would do it in a heartbeat, even if it meant I was doomed to eternal damnation in the pits of hell itself. Izuku's eyes were hard, so hard that Jordan had to look away in discomfort. Calculations complete. Beginning Ultra Warp. Welp. Back into the emotional spectrum we go. Izuku sighed. He stood and walked towards the door, feeling the engine pulsing stronger. The ship shot forward, but Izuku barely felt anything as he walked through the ship, exploring. Meal room, med bay, sleeping quarters, engine room, cockpit, and... Izuku found a secret room and entered, seeing what appeared to be a blue version of the green things Kilowog had brought with them. Curious, he reached forward, sticking a finger in it. A few arcs of energy formed between it and his finger. It felt warm but also cool, like a nice summer day at the beach, with the hot sun and cool water to relax in. After a few moments, he pulled back, deciding to ask about the lamp things when he could. Soon they came out of Ultra Warp and seemed to head somewhere. Izuku returned to the bridge. Attention, I am picking up telemetry from a nearby power ring. It's a GL. And Hal, whoever he is, he's alive. But not for long. He is in a firefight and losing. Buckle up, people. This is now a rescue mission. Izuku sat down and looked over the consoles in front of him, scanning them with his ring before translations appeared. Weapon systems. Nope, not touching that. They arrived at a planet and descended. You stay here, Midoriya. Keep an eye on him. Jordan and Kilowog rushed out of the bridge, and Izuku quickly saw them flying outside. Izuku moved to the pilot's seat. Tell me about yourself, he rasped. You were talking. Why don't you talk to them? Aya asked. You are easy to talk to and won't hide things. You are honest, logical. People are deceptive by nature, and people hurt me. It is hard to trust biologicals. But you are not. His voice smoothed out a bit as he spoke, but kept the same deep horse-like quality it had, if stronger. I can trust you better. But why? I do not understand. It's just, ugh. Everyone I know has hurt me, beaten me, insulted me, ostracized me. Everyone, even my mother, who I loved a lot, held me at arm's reach. It was due to beliefs and values of my homeland. Quirks are superpowers, abilities beyond what the human body should be capable of, and even beyond the understanding of. Science itself. Over 90% of my home had these. I was the only person I knew of who didn't. I was seen as inferior. Lesser. Kilowog says it'll be better in the core. But I'm not so sure. You, however, are just as different as I am. How so? Aya asked. I am was born without powers in a world of them. You are an artificial intelligence with emotions. Something I suspect is unique to you. How do you know I have emotions? You are curious, argumentative, trusting. And you pause, considering your words carefully. That is not something an emotionless machine would do, Izuku said softly, running his hand across the console. Suddenly, he saw Kilowog flying towards the ship with a green lantern in his arms. Aya, where's Jordan? He appears to be drawing fire. However, I detect that his ring is almost fully depleted. Izuku rushed to the ramp and took the man, jerking his head towards the battle. On it, Kilowog shot off. Izuku carried the injured alien to the med bay, laying him on a bed. Aya, scan him. How hurt is he? Izuku asked. A green light ran up and down his body. He has internal bruising and a ruptured artery. He will not last 10 minutes. Can you conduct surgery? No, but you can. Tell me what to do. Izuku followed her instructions, creating an incision that allowed him to push a construct into the alien's body and build a construct around the damaged artery. It would keep the BLD in his body and return the BLD that had been bleeding out back into his system. That will work perfectly. Above optimal performance recruit Izuku. Just Izuku is fine, Aya. You my friend. In my culture, friends call each other by their first names. First names? There are others. Izuku chuckled. On Earth, most have 3. Their given name, a middle name, normally their parent's name, and a family name. My full name is Izuku Hisashi Midoriya. Hisashi was my father's name. Midoriya is my family name. How interesting. I would like to learn more about your home, if you are willing. Of course. It was a while before Izuku felt something happen, and Kilowog brought Jordan in, suited up but looking exhausted. What happened? Idiot decided to recharge from the engine and blast a bunch of it at once. Ding, near blew his arm off. Recharge? What does he mean by recharge? Izuku frowned, but ignored it and made a screen to explain what he'd done to their guest. Good work, Midoriya. Aya. Aya, get us out of here, he said to the air. Affirmative. Izuku remained out of sight as Hal Jordan and Kilowog, along with the lantern they'd rescued, spoke to the Guardians. Kilowog having taken over the position of keeping the lantern from bleeding out. He was growing tired and decided to withdraw to his bed. He woke up to feel something was wrong. Aya, I missed something big, didn't I? Yes, you did, but you were unneeded for the event. And in fact, you would have been a liability with your inexperience using your ring. Is everyone... Aya proceeded to explain what had happened with the Red Lanterns and the planet-destroying bomb. Why didn't they wake me? I could have helped evacuate people with Kilowog, Izuku asked. Izuku had spoken more the last 24 hours than in 2 years, and had discovered that while he didn't seem to be losing his voice from disuse, his long-time mutism had affected his vocal cords. His voice was deep and throaty now. Probably permanently so. He didn't mind as he rarely spoke, but it was still an interesting observation. I think they forgot you were even here. Izuku wished he could be surprised, but his quietness had always made him near invisible. And add in that he wasn't trained, and one would find it obvious as to why he wasn't called on for help. Can you help me train? Constructs seem easy, but I've never been in a fight, and I don't know how strong they are. Certainly, though I believe how Jordan or Kilowog would be better, she told him. Kilowog is probably exhausted, and I don't like Jordan, but you have seemed fairly all right so far. Is this a human thing I have yet to learn about? Aya asked. No, his cocky, arrogant attitude reminds me of Bakugo. I wasn't expecting him to actually bring me along. You were hoping to make them return to OA? Then why tell me to do the short jump? He could hear her frown. An uncalculated jump would damage the ship you're part of, and to buy time to give them my ultimatum. I wasn't expecting him to be so reckless as to bring an untrained recruit somewhere with lantern killers Izuku's side. That was a major oversight on his part. You wish to learn? Very well. Willpower is the green light of the emotional spectrum. It is driven by one's will and drive. Izuku listened carefully as Aya spoke. After a few hours, he left his room and had something to eat before overhearing the last of Jordan and Kilowog's briefing with the Guardians. Even you know your duty, Hal Jordan. You must be imprisoned. Fools! For what I have done, they should execute me, Razor said. I do not understand your longing for self-destruction. If one regrets one's actions, one should find a way to make restitution. I'm not about to debate this with a computer. He scoffed. Izuku walked into view. It's very simple, Aya. He feels guilty. But he's also scared. Scared? Don't make me laugh. And who are you? Razor looked at him with angry eyes. Lantern recruit Midoriya. Please elaborate on why prisoner Razor would be scared. Aya requested. If the Red Lanterns know he survived, they would know he disobeyed orders. And if they knew he was captured, they would be scared of what he's told us, Izuku said, scrutinizing the man. And being powered by rage as they are, I doubt they take too kindly to traitors. I wouldn't be surprised if they tortured prisoners to learn what secrets they betrayed. Razor's eye barely twitched. If we killed him, he wouldn't have to suffer that torture, and he wants to die because of his guilt for what he did. It may not make sense yet for you, Aya, but you have not felt true fear. So until you do, you won't quite understand exactly what's going on inside his head. Enough! Razor shouted, slamming his fist into the wall. Stop trying to analyze me, child. You have no idea what the Green Lanterns have done to me. What the Guardians did. Izuku smirked. Welp, we know more now than we did before. You don't hate Green Lanterns. You hate the Guardians for something they did. Something I suspect has been unwritten. Any orders? Kilowog asked Jordan from behind Izuku. Yeah, find me a prison. It's not like we can just drop Razor off on a handy lantern science cell. Frontier Lanterns use privatized penitentiaries. I can compile all the detailed places dash. That won't be necessary, Aya. Just something nearby, but nothing too nice. Wow, she really took you at your word about the nothing too nice thing, Jordan said. It ain't that bad. Are you kidding? This place gives me the creeps. It's like fear radiates from the walls. It's a dark, dang, repulsive hall full of dash. Spiders. I was going to say rats, but oh, well, Green Lanterns. It's been a long time since we hosted a prisoner for our esteemed colleagues in justice. I take it you're the warden? I am Miglum. I operate this prison on behalf of the Spider Guild. It appears you have something for me. This piece of work is Razor. We have documented evidence of his crimes against sentient Dash. Oh, I'm quite confident he's guilty. No one has ever escaped from this facility. I'm very proud of that, but I'm even more proud of our rehabilitation program. You'll find that nearly 100% of our former guests never returned to a life of crime. Well, I'm sold. Miglum, we hereby officially remand custody of Razor to your care. Kilowog handed Razor over. Izuku watched from the interceptor, not comfortable with what he'd just witnessed, and feeling as if something was off. That's one Red Lantern down. More where that came from. I don't know about you, but I'm going to sleep a whole lot easier knowing that guy ain't on board. Now we can get back to nailing those Red Lanterns. Did you see that? Kilowog demanded suddenly. What? Out the window? In space. There. Right there. This time Izuku saw it too. Right where? Izuku moved towards the hatch and slipped out, slowly moving across the interceptor. He saw what looked like a bat-like creature with suckers on its wings. With a punch, Izuku created a green box that absorbed the creature. Gotcha! Izuku returned to the eye side of the ship with his captive, taking him to the holding bay where they'd had Razor a mere few hours beforehand. Hal Jordan, Izuku has detained someone, Aya suddenly said. Wadash. Izuku waved from where he stood, leaning against the wall. The creature trapped behind him. Okay, Squid, start talking. Kilowog here loves seafood and has a big appetite. What? It's an old interrogation method from Earth. Good cop, hungry cop. Gagan will not go back. Cannot go back. Destroy me, but do not take me back to the grim rock. To live all days like my worst. Wait, ugly and nuts. You escaped from a Spider Guild's prison. He held up a spoon. Yes, with this. Gagan tunneled 12 years. Me sane, saney. Gagan rid the air shaft. Then you. Still sane. You shouldn't have bothered, nut job. 'Cause you're just going right back to prison, where you belong. Kilowog growled. No, please, no. Mercy. Not back to Nightmare Rock. Gagan lives his pain there. Izuku's mind was catching everything Gagan was saying, But that caught Jordan and Kilowog's attention. Torture. Goggin is a child there, and old. The worst of fates. Again and again, Kilowog snorted, only to defend himself at Jordan's look. What? The escape con would say anything to stay out of prison. And if he's telling the truth? Jordan asked. Razor's worse than a criminal. If the spiders want to torture him, let him. It's our job, our duty to serve and protect, even if they're criminals. Intriguing. Goggin was fixated on Jordan. The criminals must be punished. Surely prisoners deserve their fate. They deserve justice, which sometimes involves punishment, but not torture. Look, we got to take this back. Anyway, so we'll have a look around, Jordan said. Okay, but even if there is something wrong with the prison, it's not like Miglam's going to let us see it. They'll clean up their act as soon as they'll see us coming. That's why they're not going to see us coming. We're going to break in, aren't we? Izuku sighed. Please don't say it. We're going to break into prison. It's worse than death. Infinity upon infinity, you mustn't go. Goggin tried to stop them again, but Izuku knew it wouldn't work. Don't worry, Goggin. Just taking a quick look around, Jordan turned to Goggin. Dinner's in 2 hours. If we're not back, start without us, because we're probably dead. Izuku followed them out. He was by far the stealthiest among the three of them, and smallest. He could sneak in and out better than most. We really doing this? Really? Kilowog grumbled as they found a side door. We should check out the accommodations. They entered a cell room, and Izuku felt disgust crawling up his spine at the containment unit. Well, there's no view, but there's clearly entertainment. For the guards. Anyway, we don't know that stuff's for torture. This could be the rehabilitation that Miglam talked about. Jordan knelt down to observe one of the cuff areas, which Izuku noticed had a lot of scratch marks. Whoever was being rehabilitated here was scratching desperately to escape. These yellow stones are everywhere. They make my skin crawl. I've never seen you scare before. I ain't scared of no rocks. Let's get out of here. Izuku made the screen, but frowned as it seemed harder than before. Izuku's eyes opened as he heard Kilowog. Rings are still down. It makes no sense. They're charged, but the only thing working is the universal translator. Something's interfering with them. My Green Lantern friends, I'm shocked to find you in this untoward position. Izuku looked over to see Miglam. Well, then cut us down. I'm afraid not, now that you've seen our humane cells. Oh, your rings won't work here. You must have noticed this unusual mineral. He gestured to the yellow crystals. We stumbled upon a rich vein of it nearby. Not only does it power and light the facility, it has an interesting side effect. It nullifies the energy of a Green Lantern power ring. So you do run a gulag. After all, Jordan spat. Not at all, we don't torture the prisoners here. Not in the traditional sense. Izuku felt his cocoon shift as one of the spider people descended, holding a metal crown device. These devices force the wearer to relive their worst moments again and again. So, that's what you got in store for us. A couple of bad dreams. Shut up, Jordan. Oh no, Miglam laughed. The memories are only the beginning. After we treat our prisoners then, we eat them. Oh, SHD. Electricity sparked, and Izuku felt as the device tried to access his mind. It tore through his anti-telepath shields with ease. He opened his eyes. Mount Lady stood above. DM in it. No. Izuku growled. The scene wavered. Hope filled Izuku's heart, and he began to call on every emotion he could, planning on busting his way out of this illusion. Izuku felt a spark, and something loosened from his brow. What the dash? Izuku glared at Miglam. My memories are terrifying. Horrible. But they hold little sway over me anymore. Izuku began to focus hard, but it made his glare only strengthen. Enough. These two need but little tenderizing, Miglam called. Green Lantern is best eaten fresh. Izuku spent the fight hanging from the thread to his own cocoon, watching his rings spark and glow, struggling to form anything. Miglam and his guards in the jail cells. Like you wanted. The Guardians have dispatched a new warden. You should arrive in 18 months. In the meantime, I'm designating a temporary warden. Congratulations, Goggin. I'm leaving the prison in your capable hand things. I trust you can free the prisoners from their cocoons. Yes, yes. Of course, I know one will ever be tortured here again. Izuku knew he was telling the truth. No good person that is tortured would torture another. You know, for a second there, I thought you were going to make Razor the warden. Are you crazy? I couldn't possibly leave a Red Lantern in charge of this place. Izuku saw how that saddened Razor. Because he's coming with us. Say what now? Izuku gaped at Jordan as he tossed his ring back to the man. The Red Lantern rings all looked as if they'd been made from a mix of coagulated BLD and a roughly cut ruby gemstone. You know how the thing the spiders used made you relive your absolute worst moments? Yeah, I got a new one. Izuku entered the food area, seeing Razor staring at his ring. You do not seem to have recovered from your ordeal, I suddenly said, forming her camera eye on a stock thing. You have seen my past. It is private. The intrusion was necessary to ensure the crew's survival. You are an artificial intelligence, but you risked your existence to save them. A Green Lantern would do no less, Aya said. And Aya is no mere artificial intelligence. She has potential for more. Izuku wrote out, stretching it over to Razor. You are the recruit, yes. Razor frowned at him. Why do you not speak? I am. It's why I don't have my symbol yet. Izuku jabbed his chest. I have major distrust with biologicals. Sometimes I can force it, but it's better if I just use this to speak. You are a strange 1 inch. Time passed, and Izuku watched as little more than an observer as Razor and Kilowog butted heads at every turn. In private, Izuku assisted Aya in her project. Why do you want this so badly? Izuku asked her. I wish to be a Green Lantern like you three, and I cannot do that without a body in which to fight alongside you. Aya answered as the final render spun before Izuku. They would disapprove. We keep this for an emergency, Izuku told her. Of course, Izuku, but when you've finished it, I want a hug. Affirmative. Izuku and Aya would soon have that hug. As within the next day, the Interceptor ended up saving a cargo ship from Pinhole. Izuku was just letting out giggling squeaks over to the side at the pure sass in Aya's voice. Who will control the ship if you aren't connected to it? Jordan tried. There are 5 members of this crew. I doubt that we need all 5 of us to do anything. If we do, I am concerned over your capabilities. Izuku was now wheezing on the ground with tears of mirth running down his face at their faces. Izuku, you requested a hug, did you not? Izuku snapped up and wiped his face, nodding. Aya stepped off the table, and Izuku embraced her in a hug, feeling how the green parts of her formed from willpower light felt warm and even squishy. You updated something, Izuku whispered. I improved the quality of the skin sections to improve padding. In case I ever needed to look after a child during a time of stress, she said, pulling back. You knew about this, Midoriya? Kilowog asked. And you didn't tell us? Izuku nodded. I made the majority of the design, as well as a fairly average round face. The helmet is designed after Razor's headwear when he isn't wearing his ring. I felt it was subtle enough to mimic ear covers enough to make her seem all that more alive. That's fine and dandy, but you still should have informed us. Jordan told him, why do I have to tell you if I assist a crew member with a private project? We planned on showing this to you in a month or 2, once Aya and I had worked out everything we wanted in the design. It is not complete? Razor queried. Of course it isn't. Sentient life evolves, and as time passed, and my needs change, I will similarly evolve my design to suit requirements, Aya answered. I'm already working on a way to slim down my hands, which are a bit larger than I'd like them to be. Izuku frowned as he sat back on the ship, controlling 5 constructs at once. They were simple constructs, but the optical imagery was enough to make most dizzy. He was making the 5 differently sized rings spin inside one another on different axes, waiting for Jordan to return from his battle to win the Queen's hand, or some stupidity like that. He decided against listening about it, because he didn't care about some royal tournament of love. Aya was watching him, observing his efforts with her ever-analytical eye. You are doing well. Now, begin moving all 5 rings as one mass around the room. He started slowly, pushing each individual ring away from himself at a snail's pace, taking his time to get used to the difficulty of the task. Sidemai's concentration is screwed up as Razor entered. DM in it. Do not stress. You already have more control than Razor. Red lanterns do not appear to have the capability of making small multi-pieced constructs, or the longing to do so. Aya reassured him. We do prefer to simply blast. Razor nodded. I have picked up a faint signal of a Green Lantern ring, but I cannot be sure, Aya said to Razor. But if you were closer, you would be able to trace it? He asked. Definitely. Then let's go. Hal Jordan ordered us to stay here, Aya countered. No, he ordered you to do that. He told me to assist you with tracking the ring. Sew out yourself together and let's go. I will be assembled in 2.1 seconds, Aya said. She formed and looked towards Izuku. Are all my components aligned? You look lovely, he whispered, soft enough that Razor could only pick up on the fact he'd spoken. You look handsome today. Izuku blushed, but failed to force the words out, so he just wrote them in the air. Thank you. She followed Razor outside, and Izuku gathered his wits. Izuku was confused by his reaction, and the warmth in his chest, assuming it was because he considered Aya a friend, something he hadn't had for a long time. He dismissed the odd feeling. Instead, being drawn to walk brought the ship. He inevitably found himself in front of the blue lantern again, sitting before it. What are you? He mused, letting the energy play with his finger, the strands merging into one and wrapping around his finger like a snake. You feel familiar, but also distant, like some long-forgotten memory. Something I had, but lost at some point. Something that I miss. But what is it? He watched the energy flow over his hand and almost fully encase his hand, the end of the strand pressing against the green, glowing hole of his ring where willpower ever churned. Izuku would not be able to tell anyone how long he sat there, playing with the blue light, nor why he was spending so much time there. Just that it was comforting. At one point, he was even playing with a ball of blue light, playing catch with the lantern when he suddenly jolted, feeling the ship move. How long have I been here? Sorry, Blue, but I think it's time I stepped out and learned what happened planet-side. I'll be back to play some more. He used his free hand to rub the light around his hand, and it slipped away, almost sadly. He exited the hidden room. What happened with the lanterns? He asked Jordan. A murder conspiracy to get a Green Lantern ring. I'll brief you three once we're on our way. Izuku nodded and checked in with Aya and Razor. What he never noticed was how his ring had a blue light within it, near invisible amongst the green. We were all on the bridge a few days later, shooting through the vastness of space, when Aya spoke up. I have good news and bad news. Give us the good news, Jordan said, playing Pong with himself. I have located our friend's power ring. It is on a planet nearby. Wonderful. Change course to that planet, he told her, and only spoke after the ship had turned. So what's the bad news? That asteroid is going to impact the planet in 5 minutes, Aya said. Then we'll blast it apart. He countered. Negative. My cannon cannot create enough power to damage the asteroid. Then how about delaying it? He pushed the ship forward and in front of the asteroid. The three of us stick our rings into the consoles in front of us, and a massive wall was constructed against the surface of the asteroid. Izuku could feel the weight of the asteroid through the interface and grit his teeth. He was so focused he did the feel as his ring cracked silently, a hairline fracture forming as the two unstable energies within struggled with the new task. Portable batteries? Wait, was I supposed to be recharging the ring? This entire time? How the hell am I not running out of power? Izuku jerked at the realization. Up till now, he'd assumed the batteries were meant for short-term boosts of energy for things most can't normally handle. But to actually need to recharge the ring. The wall broke, and Jordan piloted the ship out of the way. How much time did we buy? We have 6.5 hours until the asteroid impacts the planet. So we have 6 hours to find our GL friend. Good, Jordan said with a satisfied smirk. Good? How we'll be in fumes the entire time. Kilowog argued. Izuku looked to Razor in curiosity. If their rings had such little power, why does he not have to recharge? Or if he is, where does he keep the battery? Perhaps the rings have access to a personal pocket dimension in which they store them? Izuku was so caught up in his thoughts, he barely registered as they landed on the planet. Izuku, stay with the ship. Once our batteries are charged enough, recharge, and come find us. Everyone else, let's go find our GL. They quickly went off, and Izuku just sat there. Why am I always the one relegated to staying on the ship? Aya is a main piece of the DMN ship, so why can't she stay here? Izuku sighed. He decided to go sit with the Blue Lantern. The hours passed, and after about 5 hours, Izuku felt the ship jolt as if it was doing a barrel roll. Something is wrong, Izuku frowned, carefully leaving the room to discover. He reached the bridge and saw 2 strangers at the helm, and rocks suddenly forming in front of the ship, blocking the path. Thinking quickly, Izuku made a construct around his feet to anchor himself, watching as the rocks seemed to perfectly time a blow to strike the wing. They spun it if control. Izuku could barely keep himself from being sent flying, much like the 2 wannabe pirates. Finally, 2 trees literally wrapped themselves around the wings right before the ship crashed, halting the crazy flying. Izuku formed a construct around the 2 pirates, lifting them as he moved around the ship. Aya was on the ground, deactivated in the medbay. A purple glowing device was attached to her main console. Izuku picked her up and yanked the device off the console, holding her as she reactivated. I got them, Aya, and I think I've figured something out about this planet. Come, the others will want to see us, he whispered. She stood on her own. Thank you, Izuku. When I saw the hacking device, I was surprised and scared too. I bet. Izuku walked out to the exit, the door opening to let them off, their prisoners being lowered to the ground. I was scared, yes, but I'm not anymore, though I will be modifying the location of the console. In the wall, accessible only by a Green Lantern ring, should keep others from accessing it. And Razor, his ring wild, need to be keyed in specifically, but I doubt he cares that much to want access. Izuku shrugged. It's okay to feel upset. You were tricked, betrayed by someone you thought was trustworthy. It took me a long time to realize that you should simply ignore those people's existence and learn from the betrayal. Razor, Jordan, and Kilowog arrived to find them. Izuku saw the ring in Jordan's hand. It didn't find a replacement? Izuku frowned. No, but I don't know why it came here instead of back to... Jordan frowned at the ring. Izuku lifted his hand and Jordan tossed it to him. With his analytical gaze going full force, he took the few things he had seen to make an estimation. He lifted off and pulled his arm back. Midoriya, what are you doing? Kilowog demanded. Izuku manifested a massive drill and began to drill a massive hole into the planet's surface, only letting it fade once he was satisfied. Set yourself upon a stalagmite and empower your holder. They're in grave danger, he whispered to the ring, tossing it into the hole. Midoriya, what the bloody hell are you doing? We need to send that back to OA. Izuku just held up a finger with a smirk at Kilowog. After a minute, Izuku felt the shift. A massive blast of raw willpower exited the hole and impacted the asteroid, vaporizing it. Then a second blast fired out, this one converting itself into a massive construct of a Green Lantern ring. I am Mogo. Thank you, Izuku, Midoriya of Earth. You have saved me. Rather, by giving me the ring, by knighting me, you allowed me the power to save myself from that asteroid. My pleasure, Izuku whispered. For countless millennia, I have trapped evildoers here on my surface until they reform. I will keep these prisoners if you do not mind. Izuku let go of the construct, burning the pair. Knock yourself out. He watched as rocks shifted and molded themselves like an earth manipulating corkwood. You have given me new purpose, new power. I am proud to be a Green Lantern. Very proud. And I will be here whenever you have need of me. I gotta say, Jordan, you're gathering one unorthodox team, but it's an honor to be a part of it, Kilowog said. And Izuku couldn't help but agree. 2 Green Lanterns, a Green Lantern recruit, an AI turned android turned Green Lantern, a Red Lantern, and a Green Lantern planet. Welcome to the Green Lantern Corps, Mogo, Izuku whispered right before Jordan said it. Izuku felt a familiar presence and turned, seeing the blue lantern battery floating out of the ship, a blue ring in the center, before it shot away. Izuku very fractionally narrowed his eyes. Seems there will be a new kind of lantern soon. Good. Izuku was woken by the rocking of the ship, and smoke filled the room. Are we under attack? Izuku climbed out of bed and rushed from the room. Fell for the oldest trick in the book, Jordan was saying as he rushed into the bridge. Where's our little saboteur now? I'd like to congratulate him on his success. He left the ship. I do not know where he went. Oh, I know exactly where he went. Jordan turned to the window. Shard. See? I told you he was a lost cause. And I say good riddance. Izuku scoffed at Kilowog's declaration. Couldn't he see the truth of why Razor had made such an effort to trick the ship rather than just destroy it? Who knows? Maybe he was planning this the whole time. If that were true, why didn't he just kill us when he had the chance? Instead, he took the time to create a very convincing diversion. Agreed. Izuku and Aya were in unison. The program is nearly undetectable. My subsystems are studying how it works even now. My bet is he went to settle his score with Atrocitus, Jordan said. Then he should have made funeral arrangements, cause that's a one-way ticket. And he knows it, which is why we have to stop him. Izuku then got lectured on the most ludicrous plan he'd ever heard. Okay, how is this working? So DMN well. Izuku was genuinely baffled. They got in 2 guards. He and Jordan had managed to get into their suits. While he himself was small, he could use constructs to extend his body length. Now, they were being led directly to Atrocitus. And if he was right, Razor. Table for 4. Jordan told Aya. Izuku fired a construct at the table and grabbed the lantern battery, pulling it towards himself even as he flew after his allies. It was reeled in and vanished in a green flash into his ring. I have shut down Shard's automated defenses to allow the interceptor to pass through. Estimating arrival at docking bay 22 in 8 minutes and 40 seconds, Aya reported. Good. Meet us there. My own arrival may be delayed. I am currently downloading a large file. Don't be late for dinner. Over and out. It's a trap. Of course it is. But we don't leave anyone behind. I'll get the comp, Aya. I'll get her. Not. Alone you won't. You got to get the sergeant to safety and prep the ship for takeoff. We won't get away from a dozen red lanterns with only ring power. We need that ship. Too risky. Izuku rolled his eyes and flew towards the source of the hologram. He arrived after a few wrong turns and descended even as he saw a Razor hovering in the middle of the plaza. Leave her alone. Razor shouted. You want her? Anything for you. He threw Aya's limbless body at Razor, who caught her before getting blasted. I hope you would choose wisely. I hoped you'd be an ambassador for my legacy. Atrocitus walked towards Razor, a red beam of rage pouring towards the man. A legacy of murder and hate. Razor managed to counter and even push back the beam with his own. I had such high ambitions when I created you, Izuku heard even as he crept along behind them, picking up Aya and backing away. You didn't create me, I did. If only I had listened to Dash. If only you had listened to your sad little farm girl. Do you think what she said to you, what you felt for her, mattered in the least? It was I who conquered your world, who set your warlords against each other to create destruction and chaos and hate. It was I who saw your potential and recruited you. And when I saw you needed only a nudge to become a truly hateful creature, then I sealed your fate. It was I who slaughtered your precious Ilana. Izuku, we have to get to the interceptor. Aya spoke suddenly from Izuku's arms. I have vital information for Hal Jordan, but my mobility has been impeded. Izuku sighed and flew down, creating a massive hammer and slammed it down into the back of Razor's head. Why did you do that? We could have asked him to come with us, Aya asked. He was in a peak rage state. No amount of talking would have convinced him to come when he had Atrocitus on the ropes like that, he sighed, lifting Razor and flying up towards the interceptor, slipping in as the ramp descended. Izuku left Razor on a bed and put Aya in a chair, which she used to move towards her console. Your actions put us all in danger. Atrocitus knows we're alive now, and he'll be looking for us. Our job just got infinitely harder thanks to you. Jordan was angry, angrier than Izuku had ever seen him. Razor had woken up, and they'd managed to escape Shard. But he had a good point. Attention! I have unlocked the encryption on the files I stole from the Red Lantern mainframe, Aya said suddenly, cutting through the tension like a knife through butter. Izuku knew she'd done so a few minutes ago, but she'd grown a sense of emotional tact and saved it to cut the anger everyone was feeling down. Warships, hundreds of them, Kilowog frowned. Better keep your ring charged, Red. Looks like we all should Jordan's side. With what? In case you've forgotten why I went to Shard, but I do not possess a bat dash. Razor was cut off when Izuku held out the battery he'd stolen. I took in our escape. It's atrocitus, right? He must be fuming right now. Izuku smirked, tossing the lantern to him. But where did you hide it? Razor was confused. The rings can do anything you can imagine and have the willpower to do, such as store anything in a pocket dimension. Izuku's cocky smirk never left his face. Took me a while to realize that you guys actually had a use for these things. Actually had a kid, what are you on about? Kilowog demanded, and Izuku turned towards him. I have never recharged my ring. It doesn't need me to. Hell, I don't even know the oath to recite. Izuku snorted. It was only during the Mogo incident that I realized that you guys need to recharge your rings. You don't need to recharge your ring, Kilowog demanded. Izuku shook his head. Never. Nobody told me I needed to do. I assumed that it simply drew off my existing willpower to do what it does. Not that the willpower we have is simply there to shape what's in the ring. So mine works differently to you three. That's the sort of thing you're meant to tell us, Midoriya. Hal sighed, pinching his temples. And I'm afraid to ask, but what did you think they were for before Mogo? After Kilowog told me how you used the ship's engine to supercharge your ring, and nearly blew your arm off, I deduced that the lantern power batteries were used for on-the-field power-ups. In the case of an event, the normal range of power a ring can hold isn't enough. With as little as you know, that was actually a rather good assumption. But ask us these things, please. Even if it seems mundane and obvious, get our opinion, Hal groaned. Noted. Author no important. I spent a week working on this story and had 15 parts that went through the episodes up till regime change. It included a number of personal moments where Izuku interacted with the crew and formed dynamics. I am not going through that again. Instead, I'll include a brief summary of what's been going on. Consider the episodes going according to the original story. And Izuku is simply an extra in the outskirts of each battle, providing support or doing the stealth stuff. Relationships. Hal. Izuku butts heads with Hal Jordan, often due to their own natures, but can work together in a tight spot. Leadership tends to go towards Hal, but Izuku can take command just as easily with his analytical skills. Izuku does not like obeying orders, but can for the sake of innocence. Kilowog. Izuku is friendly with the man, but they don't interact nearly as much as Izuku and Hal. Izuku would always be glad Kilowog helped him when he first became a lantern, but they didn't have friendship comparability. Razor. Izuku and Razor have an at-odds relationship type. Neither agrees often with the other, but Izuku has helped Razor with his struggle against his past. Most notably when Razor discovered Aya had inadvertently used his dead wife's face as a template for her own body. Izuku suggested he consider Aya as a sort of pseudo-sister of sorts of his dead wife. Someone who he could talk to about Alana in the guise of being her long-lost sister who never knew her. Aya. Izuku is closest with Aya, mostly thanks to their analytical and brutally honest natures. There is clear love between the two that only Aya has been aware of, and only thanks to accidentally finding her own feelings. How she found this out was due to the fact she and Izuku spending a few hours a day talking about her emotions and what experiences throughout the day have elicited what reactions. She had decided to research Earth culture and inadvertently and incorrectly come to the assumption that Izuku was courting her. By talking and getting to know her, often over food, as their discussions ran through his scheduled dinner time. She has yet to mention it, not seeing a reason to. They further bonded over examining his ring. This time was also taken as part of Izuku's training, while Aya took readings of it and tried to understand how the Guardians made it to satisfy her own greed for knowledge. Differences to plot. Izuku found the Blue Lantern battery and visited it when he and Aya weren't talking about her or his ring. It had instilled a small portion of its power within his ring that caused instability between the two lights. Instability that came to a head during the events of regime change, when due to the lack of the blue battery, Izuku's ring intercepted the signal sent by Ganthet and recreated the same phenomenon that supercharged the Green Lanterns. Izuku had unleashed a huge amount of fear, turmoil, and anxiety-ridden stress as a result of the event. Because due to the surge, the two flashing energies had finally erupted and destroyed the ring, leaving it in pieces, corroded blue and green. Now Izuku and Aya are in the med bay. "It's not your fault, Izuku. You know that, correct?" I asked him. "But my ring, without it, I'm just..." Deku. Izuku stared at the ceiling. His emotions had been drained by tears hours ago. Now he was just still. Deku means useless, correct? Aya already knew this, but wanted to get clarification. "Yes, Bakugo Katsuki. My childhood best friend decided to rename me that when we were 5 after he learned I was quirkless." Deku, the useless quirkless. Someone so useless he couldn't do anything right. He was wrong. "You are not nothing without the ring," Aya countered. "The ring chose you for your ability to overcome fear. And your vast levels of willpower. You know I could detect the different lights of the emotional spectrum, correct?" His head turned towards her. "Yes. Why? Your entire body is invisible to me. Because my scanners are blinded by the inverted vortex of raw willpower you emit," she explained. He blinked slowly, not comprehending what she was trying to say. "I have looked through the logs of the bridge. You held your ring together through sheer willpower alone. A feat no lantern veteran could have accomplished. Most lanterns, such as Kilowog, have a network of green veins across their body from their willpower. Hal Jordan is one of the strongest wills in the Corp. He has a small vortex roughly the size of a basketball in his chest and the veins I mentioned. You are far stronger than him. So strong I doubt any ring would have lasted more than 10 years with you. Because you are so strong that your willpower overcharges your ring. This was to happen sooner or later," Aya explained, seeing Izuku's dawning comprehension. "Your willpower is so powerful that I cannot see your body in medical scans. You did everything you could. So much so that you extended the lifespan of your ring by a full 5 minutes. Don't be sad for what you've lost. Be proud of what you accomplished while you had the ring. Another will come, because you are a bright, warm beacon of willpower, so bright that it inspires hope." Izuku just blinked slowly at her. Then he did something neither expected. He leaned in and kissed her. Izuku just blinked slowly at her. Then he did something neither expected. He leaned in and kissed her. They both froze in position as they processed what just happened. Then Izuku flinched back. "I'm sorry. I don't know why I did that." Izuku panicked, scared she would be angry. "I'm not upset. It was a pleasant experience," Aya said. "I have been waiting for you to do that." Her words calmed him, then confused him. "Why were you waiting for that?" Izuku asked. "Because you're in love with me, and we are courting," Aya answered, head tilting with confusion. "When were we courting? And I don't think I'm capable of love, Aya. I told you I can see the emotional spectrum. You hold every light of the spectrum, as does every being. But it is simply too weak to be chosen. You have violet light in your vortex, small as towards the center, but it flares when you look at me. Did you not know?" Aya questioned. "I apologize. Perhaps I was also mistaken about us courting." Izuku was having a whole new revaluation from her words. A soft burning warmth in his chest was something he'd been feeling for a while, but had assumed it was heartburn or a warning of some danger to come. He hadn't connected it to Aya either. "How come? You thought that we were courting?" Izuku finally asked. "We spend hours talking about ourselves to one another in relative privacy, oftentimes over food like a date. You compliment my appearance when I make an update, and otherwise spend time with me. When I researched these, I found out what courting was. And in turn that I myself am in love with you," she answered bluntly. His face burned, memories rising unbidden. "Holy smokes, we've been dating without even knowing it." He gasped. "Intriguing." Is this what one would consider to be fate? I asked curiously. I think, maybe, Izuku. Fate's only really done two things for me. Kept me alive during the war on Earth, and the ring choosing me. What about meeting me? Aya asked. Well, if fate did indeed manipulate things there, then it's done three things for me. So what now? Well, I did enjoy the kiss. Perhaps we could try that again, she suggested, a small smirk tugging on her lips. This time Izuku could see he flit for what it was. Why, I believe that is a very sound idea, Miss Aya. He leaned in, tilting her head back with a finger to softly kiss her again. The pair closed their eyes and made out for a few minutes, before finally pulling away with twin sighs of relief. That was Dash Izuku started. Incredible, Aya finished. Both laughed. The door hissed open and they pulled back, turning to the door to see Hal standing in the door. We have a mission from the Guardians. Are you feeling better, Midoriya? He asked. Izuku nodded, throat suddenly tight again as a person spoke to him. The Red Lanterns are heading towards the Maelstrom. Inside is a light tower that needs a code. The tower will then open a way through the Maelstrom, and the Red Lanterns will be able to take their entire fleet to own space. What do we need to do? We need to find a Green Lantern that vanished in an attempt to find the tower and destroy it. Kilowog, and I believe he got through, but couldn't get back, or was caught before he could go back through. Name: Tavares. Processing. Tavares was a prisoner at the prison. He was, easier than expected. I'll chart a course, and we'll be on our way, he left. They looked at one another, and Izuku spoke seriously. I've been burned by love a lot, so I'm going to be very possessive if we choose to be in a relationship, he said warningly. There's not much left of my heart, but I'll give you what I have. Aya brought her hand to his face and smiled. I think there's more left than you believe, and I am yours for as long as you want me, she answered him. Possessiveness is understandable for me, as I am a machine. You know, Machine Aya. He kissed her before nodding to the door. Go on. They're going to need your help. Izuku was left alone on the ship when they arrived. Without a ring, he was a liability. And I'd just become proficient enough to be allowed to assist them, he sighed mournfully. Time passed. As Izuku waited, he played with buttons, messing with controls, and generally made a nuisance of himself. Then he felt the heat. Red Lanterns. Search the ship. Make sure there's nobody aboard. He heard. Izuku rushed towards the engine room as the ramp lowered, and launched himself at the battery, sliding around the edge and clinging to it like a koala. Thankful that it was shaped like a regular power battery, and as such had just enough of a lean for his feet to firmly plant themselves. It took half an hour before they left, and another 10 before he came out from his hiding place. Huff! Huff! Damn it, I hope they're having a better time than I am, Izuku gasped. Just then he noticed Red going up. He rushed towards the bridge and looked out to find the Red Lanterns were leaving. What happened? He saw as the crew flew out of the tunnel at top speed. Let's go, we got the code. Tavares is dead, Hal said to Izuku as he powered up the engine. Izuku nodded and decided to retire to his quarters. He's little more than a sore thumb at the moment. No matter what I had told him, it will take us 4 days to reach the Maelstrom. But we should be good to go, Aya said, setting course and activating autopilot. Once she'd done that, she left for the med bay, part of which was an engineering section. There she began to go over readings and scans she had made over the past 9 months, and began to do something remarkably human. She began to tinker. Izuku didn't have much to do, so he simply spent the next few days exercising and working on his own project. A laser rifle. It wouldn't do much, but it would be something at least to defend himself against non-lantern threats. They arrived at the Maelstrom, and the code worked. They got to the light tower. That's when things turned to SHD. Of course, they got here first. Why can't the good guys ever get a break? Izuku cried out in his mind. Right. We need to get in there somehow. Hal frowned. Izuku brought up a console keyboard and screen while getting their attention. Why not simply fly through the beam, keeping the rock away? To do that, there must be a ton of power in them. Hard to scan. Izuku is correct. We would be invisible if we did that. However, the interceptor is far too large to do that. I'll do it then, Hal said. I'm the best flyer here. Which is why you would fail, Aya countered. Your skills in combative flight are matched by nobody I know of. But you are not capable of the precision flying this task would need. I will do it myself. No. Out of the dash, a laser hit the ground between his feet. All eyes turned to Izuku, who jerked a hum at the screen. She's not a rookie. She can do this. I trust her. Aya stood and smiled. Thank you, Izuku. Aya left the ship, diving into the stream and flying with such precision that it was appealing to watch. They could only wait. Finally, a hologram appeared of her flying. Evading fire, Izuku hit a button on his console, and they were flying into the tunnel with him at the guns. He was ruthless in his targeting, blasting the red lanterns with every shot. Even when they passed him, he simply used the aft cannons to fire backwards and hit each shot. Hey, Izuku, I think you can stop shooting. Hal said. When the hell did you get so good at shooting? Kilowog demanded. Aya is a very good teacher, Izuku answered, still simmering in rage, not even realizing he'd spoken out loud. They tried to hurt his Aya. They tried to hurt his woman. Well, I think that you are terrifyingly accurate. Even for a human, Razor said, giving him a strange look. I always have countermeasures, Izuku said as they docked. The defense turrets were still chasing the red lanterns. They left the ship to prepare the tower to detonate. Izuku remained on board in case the red lanterns came back. They were in the ship and fleeing before a ship arrived to chase them. Izuku let Aya woman the guns, instead moving off the bridge and into the med bay in case anyone got injured. They'd need someone stubborn to keep them in bed. The ship rocked and swayed around. At one point, Izuku felt the wing being ground against what he could only assume to be the side of the tunnel. A final slam was enough to send him across the room and hit his head against the wall, slumping down unconscious in a tiny spot. Izuku woke up to hear a deep, gravelly voice that was familiar and sent fear through his body. Let the Armada deal with them, and a beep. Izuku struggled to his feet, pulling out his pistol before realizing that he had no chance against Atrocitus. And whoever else was on board. Are there any of the Green Lanterns on board? No, Atrocitus. Aya's voice answered dully. Rage filled Izuku as he realized Aya was being messed with, which means that beach from Mogo was on board. But he managed to calm himself. Not now, Izuku. Lay in wait. And free Aya when you can, he thought carefully. Any red or violet lanterns? No, Atrocitus. Good. This was perhaps the first time Izuku truly appreciated that his ring had been destroyed. Without it, Aya couldn't consider him a lantern of any color. And they don't seem the type to consider non-lanterns a threat. And, as such, wouldn't even think of a civilian being on board. Izuku knew he needed to prepare. But he didn't know numbers. He didn't know strengths or weaknesses. As much as he wanted to. He was useless against one of the guards Atrocitus employed, let alone a red lantern. Once Atrocitus and his men left the interceptor, Izuku carefully made his way out of the med bay. He reached the bridge and peeked in to find Aya on the ground, limbs once more torn off. But it was Izuku using his pistol to shoot her through the head. Not on my watch, you beach. Aya, did she manage to delete anything important yet? Izuku fell to his knees beside her, tearing the control device off her head and throwing it against the wall. No, Izuku, she did not. But I do not have any replacement parts. You must save the Guardians, Aya told him. How? I don't have a chance against Atrocitus. My pistol might work on people without rings, but it wouldn't dash. Izuku froze as Aya began to glow. I have prepared for this. Using my scans of your ring, I managed to replicate it. I didn't answer you correctly when we got together. There's not much left of my heart, but I'll give you what I have. I have a new answer. She looked up at him. You gave me yours. So now I give you mine, and the ring I crafted for you with my love. How? I don't have a chance against Atrocitus. My pistol might work on people without rings, but it wouldn't dash. Izuku froze as Aya began to glow. I have prepared for this. Using my scans of your ring, I managed to replicate it. I didn't answer you correctly when we became a couple. There's not much left of my heart, but I'll give you what I have. I have a new answer. She looked up at him. You gave me yours. So now I give you mine, and the ring I crafted for you with my love. The Green Lantern symbol on her chest fell out, becoming 3 pieces. 2 flat pieces and a circular one. A ring. It was a thin, simple one with a white silver metal body. The face has the symbol of the corp on it, glowing green and rolling with willpower. 2 sideways symbols. Much smaller were in the sides, and in between 2 long, thin green lines that similarly glowed with power. Save them, Izuku. I know you can. Izuku deliberated before reaching for the ring with his right hand, only for it to levitate and shoot past his hand and quickly slip into his left, onto his ring finger. I'll be back, Aya. Izuku shot out of the ship and down the corridor of the building, following the sounds of fighting. He came into what he assumed was the Guardian Chamber to find them cowering off to the side and Atrocitus beating down on Hal, who was unconscious. Jesus Christ. He's unconscious, man. Why not pick on someone who's actually tough? Izuku drawled. How dare you? Izuku backhanded the massive beach, all-headed guy across the room, a wave of power flooding off him, knocking the guards down. Oh my. Now, this is an impressive sight. Tell me, who are you? Atrocitus stood up from Hal Jordan, show as levitated over towards the Guardians. The name's Izuku Midoriya, rank recruit. Never actually stayed in OA long enough to get training, Izuku smirked. I'm also the guy who stole your power battery, gave it to Razor. Atrocitus was suddenly engulfed by red energy, roaring at Izuku enraged. Izuku ducked to the side and unleashed a blast of power at Atrocitus, knocking him back and shutting off the plasma breath. Come on, ugly. What? Everybody's so scared of that scar that they didn't play with. You as a child? So you decided to hurt others. Izuku jeered. I only hit you once. You can't be that weak. Rah! A powerful beam from Atrocitus lanced across the room, only to be redirected back at him by a U-bend pipe. DMN, now you're letting yourself get owned by your own attacks out of a shitter pipe? I can't believe I was ever afraid of you. Izuku smirked arrogantly, knowing exactly how to treat Atrocitus and control the fight. Die! Atrocitus leapt at Izuku, only to be ducked and avoided, instead getting a hand to the back of the head and a slap. I like you cut, G. Izuku waited for him to turn around. When Atrocitus was looking at him, Izuku only pointed down. Like an idiot, Atrocitus actually looked, letting the boulders Izuku had formed land on his head. He was dazed but not out, so Izuku created a large baseball bat the size of the room and swung it, clocking him right in the jaw. Atrocitus was out like a light. I was not expecting him to lose so easily, Izuku frowned. Yeah, they tend to do that, Hal groaned from by the Guardians. Guards, retreat. The beach all guy shouted. I really need to learn that guy's name, Izuku thought to himself. Ending conversation. His name is Socks. Izuku asked. What? No, it's wait, you're talking. Hal said. Oh, wait. Oh, SHD talked a supervillain. Izuku almost passed out in horror at the realization. Hey, those are some pretty good insults for a rookie, Hal grinned. Yes. How is it a recruit defeated Atrocitus? Apps asked from behind them. I got beaten up by a rage-filled, explosive-handed brat for 10 years. I know how to PSS someone whose entire shtick is rage off so badly they can't even think straight, Izuku answered immediately. And I have a hell of a lot more willpower than my frail appearance suggests. Kinda needed it considering I was basically suicide-baited for 5 years, struggling while homeless during a war on the front lines no matter where I went for 2 years, then ended up all the way out at frontier space. Aya says I'm far stronger than him. Izuku pointed a thumb at Hal. You named the AI? Nah, he did. Izuku just kept pointing at Hal. Also, I was on the Interceptor, tried using myself as a hostage to make them turn around and come back, Izuku said, deciding to explain before they could accuse him of anything. Gave him the ultimatum of take me back or take me with you. I wasn't expecting you to take an untrained recruit that had yet to reach his majority somewhere with lantern killers. The last part he directed at Hal. Are you throwing me under the bus? Yep. I ain't going down because I underestimated how pig-headed you were. Which is saying something because Kilowog actually has a pig head and even he wanted to turn around. Fine, whatever. I did make a bad choice. Oh, no, the bad choice was letting yourself be outsmarted by a drone, which ended up leaving us stranded in enemy territory. Enough. We have work to do. Appa cut off the brewing fight. Izuku walked over to Atrocitus and bound him, reaching down to pull off his ring. How are you doing that, Midoriya? Your ring was destroyed on Betrasis, Hal questioned. Aya has a hunger for knowledge. I'll let her examine and study my ring to keep her from being reckless like you. She evidently figured out enough to replicate the Guardian's design for a power ring. Gave it to me just before I left the ship. Izuku rolled his eyes, showed how the ring. Slimmer and fits perfectly. I plan to let the Guardians examine it when things are cleared up a bit to make sure there's no risk of it shattering while I'm in the vacuum of space. Why'd you put it on that finger? I didn't. It did, Izuku said in boredom, recovering from his adrenaline high, and turned to the Guardians. Where do I put him? I need to be checked over. Concussion and likely a cracked skull. You weren't hit. I was knocked unconscious on the ship, Hal. Woke up as we entered Ultra Warp. I'm not risking dying of a brain bleed when I survive this tosser. I will guide you to the science cells. They should hold him for the night, said, floating forward. I am in need of a checkup myself. Wonderful. Hal, you debrief them and get Aya off the ship. She's lost her limbs again. Oh, and get Kilowog and Razor on a call? They must be frantic right now. Izuku left the room and followed the Guardian. It's thanks to you that we saved Betrasis. The Blue Lantern battery wasn't in the ship, but my ring hijacked the signal. Using it and letting off a wave like the battery was likely planned to do. You doing whatever you did to get Ganthit back on OA, however risky, is the only reason we're here today. She turned to him, curious. How did that happen? I found a battery in our first days away. Sat with it fairly often and let it play with my hand. It reminded me of a baby. At some point during the months, it put power in my ring, and that unstable mix of active power is what made my ring break, Izuku said, going on to explain the entirety of what he remembered to her. It was a new existence, a prototype, but as a being of sentient emotion, if not sentient thought it was. Aware enough to interact with me. They locked up Atrocitus and went to the healing dome, finding they were all right, if in need of plenty of rest. I will look over Aya's ring. I am curious to see how much she managed to gather on her own, and if she improved anything. He willingly stuck his hand into a scanner, letting her examine the ring. Aya was brought in shortly after they arrived. What are you doing, Izuku? She asked him. Letting Guardian said, have a look over the ring you made. Make sure it's stable, can handle extended use, and see what you improved, Izuku shrugged. And I must say, you have impressed me, spoke up, looking up from the screens. This material is incredibly durable and highly effective at containing willpower energy. It has almost everything we Guardians out into the original rings, aside from the anti-lethality programs. But those I understand you not putting in. Those were mostly a preventative measure for when the earlier Lanterns got angry. When we were fine-tuning the selection process, we never ended up removing it because it was a nice safeguard. And Green Lanterns aren't meant to kill. Capture, yes. Kill, no. Though I don't have much concern on if I kill. I did it before I got the ring. And I'd easily find ways around the programming, Izuku shrugged. Indeed, you are an intelligent human. A much better Lantern than Hal Jordan. Regardless on if you have more or less willpower than him. I wouldn't be so sure, Izuku sighed. All humans are stubborn, rule-breaking, order-disobeying people. Just put them in a situation they don't like, and they'll more often than not fight back. Better to beg forgiveness than ask permission or something like that. And if you do something, they'll laud you a hero if it works, and forget you if it fails. Said looked at him. Those are remarkably wise statements. If unrefined, how old are they? Dunno, at least a few hundred years. Less than 1,000 at least. Intriguing. Your race is young, but also holds much more potential than we thought from our dealings with Hal Jordan. That's our whole thing. Potential and risk. I doubt there's another race out there that is born with biological superpowers that awaken at the age of 4 years old. Powers that range from being able to extend your fingers to having wings with feathers you can psychically control into being as tough as steel to controlling or even generating. An element. The power to destroy cities with a punch or control technology with your mind. Name a power, and it's likely appeared on Earth, or will in the next few hundred years. And they're only growing stronger and more diverse as the years pass. Izuku sighed as he was released from the device. And yours? She asked. Izuku sighed. How? And I don't have one. We are a quickly dying out breed of human that's quirkless. You wouldn't believe the hell I survived as a child, Izuku said heavily. Roughly 95% of my home country on Earth had quirks, more even. The idea of someone quirkless was frankly terrifying for the children my age. And the idea I had the chance to ever amount to anything in life in the thousands of -%. It's why my will is so strong. I needed a powerful will to prove them wrong, to make something of myself. Or I'd kill myself, said Hummed in curiosity and concern. May I see? If I can see too. She's more than an AI. The fact she can control will energy is proof of that. Said agreed, and they moved over. When they were beside Aya, the guardian pressed a hand to their temples, and her eyes lit up. Izuku didn't know just how much they saw, and he didn't care, too emotionally, physically, and mentally exhausted. Their reactions when they came out of it was enough to know they saw everything. Aya had a snarl of rage, and said, though having far more control over her eyes was still glaring at nothing in intense rage. Aya had a snarl of rage, and said, though having far more control over her eyes was still glaring at nothing in intense rage. That was inconceivable. Recruit Midoriya. If anyone should have created an entire lantern corp of emotion, it should have been you, said Hum softly. And I genuinely have no idea of what emotion it could be. Willpower was a must to survive. Hope burnt bright inside you, even if it burned out during the war at your mother's death. Rage towards her death. Fear was also a massive presence in your life. You are an anomaly. You should be a crying wreck of a child, or willing to burn down your planet. Your control is awe-inspiring. Izuku shook his head. I couldn't force innocence to experience the same fear I felt. So fear would never have been made by me. Rage? I only hated the wrongs of society, and a select few within that society. Not nearly enough to spark a Red Lantern Corporation. My hope was stifled too. That wasn't something I could make a massive amount of, so become a lantern that way. But will Izuku smile for the first time in a bit? My will was bent, broken, shattered many times, but Mom would always inadvertently heal it, repair it into a strong tool. That, I think, is why mine is so powerful compared to Hal's. I lived through hell in a country where I wasn't even seen as human. America has more quirkless and a quirkless president, so Hal would have lived a far easier life. Still some stigma, which is why he's stronger than most, but still less than I'd suffered. And you never lost control of yourself. Did you ever wish you had that supervillain's quirk? The one that could steal and give quirks. Many times. Any quirk. But I also knew I couldn't simply take another's quirk and force them into the same hell I lived, Izuku explained. He had so much potential to do good. Take quirks from villains. Give them to children who didn't have their own. Strangely enough. Is it bad I feel pity for him? Pity? Aya had regained control of herself. Why would you pity a monster like him? He grew up in a time where having a quirk was seen the same way I was for not having one, if less. His initial idea of becoming a kingpin was probably to gain power to protect his own, Izuku said reasonably. Power that inevitably corrupted him, twisted his morals over time into what he became. I don't pity all for one, but the man he likely was who died back in the dawn of quirks. You are too old for your age, Recrui, no. Lantern Midoriya corrected herself, and waved her hand. Izuku felt a change in his suit, looking down to see the symbol forming on his chest. Every symbol he had seen has had a white background, but this one was black and green, the green glowing like the veins in his suit. Black? Aya was the one to ask. You never heard the lantern oath. So I'll tell you it, Midoriya said. In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power, Green Lantern's light. I think your childhood was enough of a testament to you living in a blackest night situation. So unlike every other lantern, I think a black symbol would be better suited to represent your dark past. When a lantern does something of immense, noteworthy proportions, their symbol was made to be green and white, rather than white and green. "Thank you," Guardian said. Izuku said softly. It was still a new thing for people to believe in him. "No. Thank you, Izuku Midoriya. I suspect if you weren't here, Hal Jordan would have managed to get up and give a hell of a fight against Atrocitus. But when? I doubt it. You, despite being a recruit, are probably more of a Green Lantern than many of the Corp could understand. And your ability for acceptance is nice." She gave a look towards Aya with intrigue in her eyes. "I must go assist the other Guardians. Your quarters have a shower in one of the walls. Aya can show you." She floated out of the room. Did she just give permission for us to be together?" Izuku stared blankly after the ancient being. "I do believe she did." "So, are you going to kiss me?" Aya asked, suddenly acting coy. "Oh, certainly." He did so, and once her body was repaired, they retired to his quarters for a night that neither would forget. Keep in mind, they may have been actively dating for 4 or 5 days, but unconsciously, they've been dating for like 6 months, and he is a teenager despite everything. The next morning came, and Izuku and Aya met up with Hal, who had somehow gotten Kilowog and Razor. Probably went on the Interceptor to pick them up. "I think it's time I returned to Earth. I got a date and a lot to explain to Carol," Hal said. "I'll head over with you. I doubt the Guardians simply left our sector without a lantern. The new guy will need to be debriefed," Izuku sighed. I reckon you should stick around on OA with Kilowog and Razor. Your head should be able to keep them from butting theirs." Oi, Kilowog growled. "Valid," Razor said unrepentant. "DMN, I hadn't thought about being replaced." Of course they'd set up a temp. Hal pinched his nose. "Not a temp," Izuku shook his head. "We were in frontier space and in near-death situations for 9 months, Hal. They're permanent. But hey, this just means we got 3 lanterns and can set up a schedule for patrols. 2 weeks each across the sector, and each of us gets a 4-week PRD off. 4 weeks to spend with Carol, for 2 weeks traveling the sector? Well, depending on what this guy is like." "Good point. And don't expect to simply slot back in your job either. Business is business. Even if you're dating the boss." Izuku grinned before patting Hal on the back. "But hey, you get to be the house husband who saves the galaxy every now and then." Now Hal's good mood was gone, instead being down in the dumps. "But I love flying the jets," he muttered. "Hal, you have access to the most advanced ship in the universe, a ship that can cross the known universe in minutes. Your human jets would be lacking," Razor said with an undisguised snort. "Fair. I wonder if I can get a job at a fast food place. I'll call you tonight, Aya. Update you on how it goes." "Talk soon, Izuku," she waved. The pair flew off OA. "So, what's the story between you two?" Hal asked. "We're together. Turns out we fell for one another while I was helping her with understanding her emotions during my training and other stuff," Izuku said. Nice. Treat her wrong, and I'll punt you into a sun." Izuku snorted. "If I treat her wrong, she'll punt me into a black hole." "Fair." They flew towards Earth, and Izuku checked his ring periodically, only to frown. "Another human lantern? DMN, I sure hope we don't all come from Earth," Izuku grumbled. "Considering us two? Can't be all that bad," Hal said. Izuku just sighed, knowing Hal just jinxed them. "Okay, what the?" Hal growled. They'd arrived, and easily found the Green Lantern. He was a celebrity, as a Green Lantern, without a mask. "Don't lose your cool, Hal. However, since the cat's out of the bag, so to speak, let's land. Let me handle the media," Izuku told him. "You could take Green Celebrity down there and give him a chewing out. I doubt the Guardians signed off on this. And for God's sake, don't let him rile you up." They flew down. "Green Lantern, what are you doing?" Izuku called. The man looked up, shocked. "Who are you?" Even his voice was grating. "The Green Lantern's before you. Why have you revealed yourself to the public? And where is your mask?" Hal answered. "Why the hell wouldn't I reveal myself? And where the hell have you idiots been? Since you've so stupidly revealed yourself to the media, I'm going to have to do damage control." "Luckily, I've prepared for this," Izuku said, forming a hand to slap the idiot up the head. He landed and stepped behind the podium. "Excuse me, but who are you?" A reporter demanded. "I'm a Green Lantern. Not telling you my name, nor will my more intelligent associate," Izuku shot a barbed look at the idiot. I don't know what's been happening. Can someone give me a rundown? Guy Gardner started showing up and stopping crime all over the planet. He's so hot, one female reporter. He said it wasn't a quirk, but until today, I don't think anyone believed that. So their presence had only slightly worsened the issue. Suffice to say, Green Lanterns are an intergalactic peacekeeping force. There are 3,600 sectors. This is Sector 2,814-inch. Intergalactic peacekeeping force. Aliens are real. One guy cried out, "Yep, and me and my associate have been across the galaxy, stopping a war. The ones in charge evidently decided to make a new Lantern member. I'm just upset the ring chose an idiot." "You shut your pie hole, runt," Gardner shouted at him. "How often do you leave the planet?" Izuku countered. "Huh, why would I do that? Hello, an entire sector of space. You're the guy that was meant to patrol and make sure things were peaceful, handle any big issues, and keep things safe. You've just been sitting back here and enjoying fame?" I was disgusted. "Nobody told me that. Asking your ring would have given you those answers in an instant," Izuku grumbled. "Anyways, to cut off the line of questions, our bosses back when it was only my associate had decided, as Earth had its hero system and police forces, that we were not to reveal ourselves, as our presence was unneeded. Instead, we would be handling trouble on other planets. We'll be informing our bosses, and he may be fired." He turns off the mic. "I wouldn't hold my breath if I were you. I was chosen by the ring. I'm a Green Lantern. You show next to zero intelligence and strong anger issues. It's just a good thing the rings made it impossible to kill someone with a construct, or I'm sure there would be a lot of dead people. I've seen your type, and I know how you react," Izuku said, stalking up to him and jabbing him in the chest as he hissed his next words. "I've just beaten the butt of a guy who could turn his rage into literal plasma breath. You are nothing compared to him and his armada of Red Lanterns, or their planet-killing bombs the size of towers. Oh, you pipsqueak, let's go." "You don't even have the right uniform on," he smirked. "That symbols is meant to be white. The black is a badge of honor for surviving hell, you fool. Let's go. We have a report to make and a sector to help." "Clearly we won't be getting any help from this bozo." Izuku lifted off. "I was going to take you to task about this, but I think you did it better than I ever could." Hal flew off after Izuku. "You go see Carol. I'll make the report myself. I'm the senior Lantern," Hal reminded him, "and the one the Guardians dislike more. Go see your wife. I'll handle the Guardians." Izuku waved him off. "All right." While Hal flew off, Izuku found a rooftop to land on. Green Lantern of Sector 2814 to Guardians said, "Please answer." While Hal flew off, Izuku found a rooftop to land on. Green Lantern of Sector 2814 to Guardians said, "Please answer." It was a few moments, but her form appeared. "Lantern Izuku, I was under the assumption you were returning to Earth with Hal Jordan. We arrived and found out our replacement is an utter moron," Izuku said. "No training, no knowledge on what a Green Lantern is. He just used his ring to become a famous hero and hasn't left the planet. I just had to hijack his press conference and reveal what a Green Lantern really is and our role, as well as explain why they hadn't heard of us before him." "He did what? Who is this Lantern?" "Guy Gardner, an American male who hasn't even tried to hide his face. He's been lapping up the praise and has an ego the size of a building. Hal has gone to update his wife in the going-ons of the invasion and such. I will be going around the sector and cleaning up the messes Gardner should have been watching out for. Just wonderful. Do you have a suggestion on how to handle this?" "Probation. If he doesn't clean up his act fast, he loses his ring. He has a lot of anger, so an event like that might get the attention of a Red Lantern ring. But he's an idiot. He shouldn't be too much of a risk. I will bring it up to the council." "Thank you for the update." The projection blinked out. "So, you're a snitch," Izuku growled, hearing Gardner's voice behind him. "You know what snitches get, right? Stitches. Maybe, but that's if they're caught. And weak." Izuku chuckled mirthlessly. "You don't want this fight, Gardner. I have much more experience than you, and I'm not afraid of losing limbs." "Are you?" He was unconcerned. "You have the what, 14? 15? Imagine what'll happen when I tell the Eastern countries that one of their children was basically kidnapped for 9 months by an alien race and forced to become an intergalactic cop." He walked around Izuku. It shouldn't be too hard for him to find a green-haired kid that's missing but of your age range. I'm 18, and I'm dead according to my home country, so good luck finding out my name, you ape. Let alone the fact that nobody would suspect a quirkless as worthy of being an intergalactic peacekeeping member. Ah, but were you 18 when you were chosen? Gardner was acting as if he'd caught the canary. No, but as I said, my home country believed I was dead long before I was chosen. So good luck finding out my name. That means you're a runaway, or we're in a situation where you either should have died, but got chosen before you could be found, or that you are from Japan. Okay, so he's not a total moron. I'm from Japan, yes. But green hair is very common, and a lot of people died. I doubt you'll figure the rest out. Considering that he was a quirkless loser, nobody cared for that was a certainty. Izuku flew off and left orbit. Now, time to handle the sector, he sighed. Izuku would go to spend a week traveling the sector, handling any big issues that came up, clearing out some old stuff, explaining why it happened to each government, and why the new lantern hadn't shown up. They were not happy with Gardner, but did thank Izuku for his help, and asked him to pass their thanks on how. He did so. He just finished cleaning up the mess when his ring flashed. Lantern Midoriya of Sector 2814. Report to the Guardians Priority 1. Oh, SHD. What now? He grumbled. Last time this happened, I ended up on the other side of the universe and fighting off an invasion. But he dutifully turned away from his path to Earth and flew at top speed towards OA. He landed and saw Aya and Salak waiting. Aya, Salak, what's the problem? Izuku asked, a frown creasing his brow. Not good news, unfortunately. Aya answered, greeting him with a hug that lingered. Let me guess, universe-destroying stuff again? Izuku asked sarcastically. Yes. Did Hal Jordan contact you before you arrived? Izuku gave her a dull glare that didn't have any heat in it. No, I was trying to be sarcastic. What did I miss in a week? A week? Izuku threw his hands in the air in exasperation. Hal Jordan managed to discover that the Manhunters are being reactivated in factories being restarted across the universe by an antimatter machine called the Anti-Monitor. It came here from an alternative universe that Hal was trapped in for a day before managing to bring himself and the entire planet from their doomed universe to our own, she answered. It's been a week, Aya. Less for you guys. Why? We just stopped the invasion, and now we have a universe-destroying machine reawakening the things that caused a near invasion in the first place. Izuku gave up and turned to Salak. Are they waiting for me? They are. Izuku sighed, but walked towards the council room. Entering, the Guardians were already present. All right, I'm assuming this is about the Anti-Monitor? Aya gave me a basic briefing before I entered. Let me get the stress of sheer ridiculousness out of my system, Izuku said. It is. You have been reassigned from Sector 2814 to the Interceptor to investigate and handle this. Hal Jordan, Kilowog, and Aya are also present. Izuku sighed. Very well. Suggestions? Do not fight the Anti-Monitor. We doubt you have the power necessary, even with your extraordinary amount of willpower. Dismissed. Izuku nodded and left. What happened? Aya asked. I've been reassigned to the Interceptor with you, and told not to fight the Anti-Monitor if we encounter it. It would seem they already have you pegged, Aya said, a smirk on her face. It would appear that way. Come on, I want to kick Hal's, but for his little universe-hopping adventure. They took off towards where the ship was being kept. Izuku was going to beat Hal's, but Black and Blue, for literally tearing space and time around a planet, but decided that he was already beaten enough. So he was beaten by a squirrel? Izuku clarified once Kilowog finished the story. Yeah, it was funnier since he tapped out. Izuku barely kept his amusement internal. The ship began to descend, and Izuku frowned at the pit stop. Then he felt a familiar sensation. Ah, Jordan, what are we doing here? You didn't tell us about this stop, Kilowog demanded. There's someone I wanted to check in on, who I think can help us, Hal answered. Izuku looked up to see a familiar and welcome face. Izuku grinned. Hey, Razor. I see you took my advice. Razor nodded, a soft, uncomfortable smile on his face. I did. I am. Unsure if I have made much headway, but my ring cannot do more than spark. So I know my anger has not grown. You knew he was here? Kilowog pinched Izuku's shoulder lightly. Why didn't you say something? Izuku sighed. I didn't know he was here, but I did advise him to seek help with his emotions. I suggested he find Ganthit, since I knew Ganthit would be near the blue battery. I felt he could probably do the best in advising Razor in his anger. And you were quite right to do so, Ganthit smiled. Razor may not see it himself, but I have seen his ability to control himself growing. Now he only attacks Bug after the 5th attempt to near him. He used to attack them when they were able to be heard. Come, I have something to show you. Midnight to 040. Izuku stood at the back of the group and raised a hand in greeting to the wave. Unlike the others, a small portion of it slipped from the wave, wrapping around his hand in greeting. Hello again, it's good to see you, Izuku smiled in his mind. But as he watched in shock, the blue light formed a lantern and a ring. Izuku quickly hid them away when they fully formed, concerned as to what it would mean. Then he felt as his ring and willpower shot through the roof. Whoa, he gasped, feeling his everything tingle. His voice was multi-layered over itself too. 0:40 and Ganthit. If it's supercharged the Manhunter, how far do you think that effect goes? Izuku asked. A far distance. What? It might have supercharged other Manhunters. Unfortunately, I think the battery has to be deactivated for the short term, Izuku said, looking regretfully at the glowing battery. At least until this Manhunter problem is handled. Surely it can't have gone that far, Hal said, making Izuku facepalm, an action that was mirrored by Aya and Razor. What? You just jinxed it, Hal. We're going to be having company by the end of the day, Max, Izuku sighed. Jinxing is fake, Hal said. This time everyone facepalmed, and he triggers the jinx paradox. It's really happening now, Ganthit sighed. He turned to Izuku. Unfortunately, it will take me several hours to gain the power to deactivate the battery. Until then, we must stay in high alert. They took the Manhunter back to the ship. Way to go, Razor, Izuku grumbled. Now, I gotta smooth things over for you again. Izuku rushed after Aya, catching up to her as she was stepping of the ship. You have a soul, Aya, was the first thing he said. How do you know? You have emotions. The Manhunters don't. They are lacking something. Something you got, he said, walking beside her. Hal's idea of teaching them is a good one. If they were like you, they aren't because they cannot understand that which they cannot experience. It's like me trying to understand how you think. You think differently to me. Not just because you were originally a program, but as a woman. But unlike the two of us, they don't have the ability to perceive emotion. To feel, as Izuku said. You say they're missing something I have. How do we give that to them? Aya asked. We can't. How you gained emotion is something I doubt even the Guardians know. If we knew then, perhaps. But if we did give them emotions, how many would they have killed by then? How will they react to the sudden, overwhelming sensation of grief, self-hatred, and disgust? Izuku asked her. I understand you wish for kin, others like yourself to relate to, but I fell for the fact that you are unique, special, precious. It's hard for me to remember sometimes that you are in a robot body, with how you act, something I think the rest of the crew deals with too. You think so? I know so. Hal is seeing you like a daughter, I think, or a little sister to protect. And Kilowog likely sees you as a woman before robot. And Razor, she questioned. He is why you brought this line of thinking up. I can never trick you, Izuku chuckled. Fine. I pressed fairly heavily on him in the frontier to see you as a sister of his dead wife, rather than seeing you as a machine who tried to manipulate him by taking her form. So he too would have issues. Issues that were only exacerbated by his ring. It makes him angrier, more susceptible to his anger. And being here would help him in the long run, Izuku sighed, looking around at the appealing planet. But like a cold, this stuff has to get worse to get better. 2. Dislodge the status quo and out it in a state or chaos so as to reorder it correctly. So in there, when Hal made the suggestion of teaching the Manhunter, his turbulent emotions made him act rashly, and briefly forgetting my origin as a machine too, Aya finished. Yes, that's what I believe happened. He let go of her hand, pulling her against his chest as they looked out at the trees. Because it's easy to forget when someone as special as yourself appears. Razor came out shortly after, and Izuku let go of Aya's shoulder. I'll give you two a few minutes to talk, he whispered, kissing her cheek. He nodded to Razor and left. He returned to where the battery was, looking at it from a distance. You confuse me. Izuku turned in surprise, only to see Saint Walker. How so? You have a great deal of hope inside you. But I feel you have no hope at the same time. Izuku pondered his words before answering. My entire life, I've been beaten down into the ground, walked over and treated like some involved ape compared to the rest of my race. Because I lack something everyone else had. What's that? The Blue Lantern asked. A quirk. An oddity. Izuku had to laugh, realizing the translation function of their rings couldn't quite translate it properly. No, a superpower. My race decided to name them quirks. 80% of the population has one, ranging from as weak as growing toenails faster to being able to command the elements, punching buildings, or even reshaping matter with a touch. Unfortunately, with them, so common, having one was the equivalent of, well, out here, it would be considered to be the equivalent of not knowing what a Green Lantern is. Something seen as inherently wrong. I do not understand where you're going with this. I'm getting there. So, I've basically been the equivalent of that kid nobody wants to know and everyone hates. I spent 10 years being treated like garbage. Then my country erupted in war as the strongest hero was killed. The villain who did so and his student seeking to steal all the quirks of the heroes and population and set themselves as the rulers. They would have expanded across the world, Izuku explained. The war lasted 2 years. Pretty early in, my mother died. My father had left the country when I was found to be quirkless. I spent those 2 years struggling to survive. So my lack of hope for myself isn't strange. I know one day I will die, but I have hope for everyone else. For a brighter day where nobody will have to suffer as I did. Does that explain what you sense? Saint Walker looked at Izuku strangely. Strangely enough, it does. What will you do with what you were given earlier? He asked. Izuku jolted, surprised the man had seen that considering how fast he'd been. Hold on to it. I suspect the blue and green lights are in cahoots and working to make things better. What I was given isn't for me. That I know, but perhaps they believe I will run into someone in need of them. You should never have suffered what you did. It made me who I am. That is something I am at peace with. Holding no hope for myself isn't bad, but my hope for a brighter future somewhat extends to me having hope for a happy life for myself. Saint Walker left, and Izuku simply relaxed, waiting for the danger to arrive as it was inevitably going to do. Trouble. Izuku looked up from where he was practicing his multi-ringed construct. He used to find it difficult. Now he could make 5 of the same construct and move them about at high speed. How, Kilowog? 3 enhanced manhunters have just entered the atmosphere, he spoke into his ring. We read you. On our way, Hell answered first. Negative. I can handle this. With the thought, his ringed construct sharpened, flattening to become multi-ringed blades akin to a chakra without a handle. Izuku shot up into the sky, shooting towards the machines. He's slow before them, frowning. Hand over the device responsible for our enhanced systems, the middle one said. Negative. Izuku fired at them, a red herring to cloud their sight as his ringed constructs came flying from his sides. Due to a mix of the enhancement of the blue battery and his own willpower sharpness, they cut through the manhunters like a hot knife through butter. All 25 rings, leaving the manhunters as scrap metal. It worked like a charm. Plus it helped he went for the joints. No man escapes that they ran out of power. Izuku caught the pieces in a bubble and flew down, finding the other lanterns already halfway up. That was quick. The damaged one took our combined might. Kilowog was surprised. I used a smoke screen so my bladed rings could get close, Izuku said, forming the weapon-used version of that Aya had been using to train him. Aya recognized it. You haven't slacked off on my training, I see. Of course not, Aya. You make my training difficult, but fun. Of course I'm going to continue it. Izuku smiled as he replicated what he was doing earlier. A simple yet effective method. Even your rings can make these if you don't use them against people. But the anti-lethality programming dash Ganthet started. Aya made this ring. She didn't include that, Izuku said with a smile. But even with that, these manhunters aren't sentient, so they could be destroyed by normally lethal methods. I use a blast to make a smokescreen, so they could get close and chop them to pieces. With more whole manhunters, can you find weak points in their design? Yes, in fact, I could do more with these than the one on the interceptor, Ganthet smiled. Lovely. And the battery? I regained enough power to deactivate the battery. It will take several hours to do so, but I do not believe any more manhunters will be arriving in that time. And in the meantime, we can hide the battery in case more come looking. Under the surface, St. Walker said. They left the planet, leaving the manhunter parts with Ganthet. That was a useless trip, Killua grumbled. Are you a fool? We now know more about the manhunters, and have parts for Ganthet to look through for weak points, Izuku retorted, before smiling towards Razor. Plus, we got an old friend back on board in the process. It is good to be back in the Interceptor indeed, Razor said softly but clearly. Good to have you back, buddy. Razor, I'm glad you have returned to the ship, Aya said. Izuku turned his attention from the bickering Green Lanterns to her and Razor. That is, I am pleased that you completed your task on Odom. On the contrary, the Blue Lanterns were unable to help me purge rage from my heart. It changed nothing. Perhaps that is for the best. All of us prefer you to remain unchanged, Aya said. She's right, Razor. Being angry is an integral part of who you are. There's nothing wrong with it, Izuku said quietly so as to not interrupt the argument behind them. Then why did you advise me to find Ganthet? To learn there is more than hateful rage, Izuku answered bluntly. Hateful rage is what has shaped you for so many years. Rage is an integral part of what you are now. Instead, I was hoping he could assist you in learning the other forms of rage. There are no other forms. Rage is hatred, Razor said, heat in his words. No, here are other forms. Don't you remember the lighthouse? When I tore into those red lanterns with the guns. I do, he said, looking confused. I didn't do that because I hate red lanterns. I did that because I love Aya, and they were trying to hurt her. That is why I was pissed off. Protective rage is a different, but similar form of rage. Put yourself in my position and back when you were living with Ileana, he started, hoping that Razor would forgive him for this later. An Atrocitus suddenly walked through the door to kill her. You would be in rage, correct? Yes. Razor already looked like he was about to lash out. That would be protective rage. You want to protect her, and in turn find the idea someone would want to hurt her disgusting. You want to hurt the one attempting to do so. You wouldn't do it because you hated Atrocitus. You'd never met him. No, what would have fueled your ring in that moment is loving rage. Love for Ileana, and rage that anyone would try to hurt her. I suggested for you to find Ganthet, because as he'd be around the Blue Lanterns, I hoped it would put things into perspective, without you losing yourself to the anger any conversations would give. Why not simply tell me this? Razor frowned, still pissed, but not as much as he was. I can't give you the answers. Your purpose is something you need to find. So I tried sending you somewhere that would assist in your journey to self-discovery. Having said his piece, Izuku pushed off with his feet, sliding across the consoles back to his post. I need to think. Razor got up and walked out of the bridge. I keep forgetting how wise you are sometimes, Midoriya. How you were forced to grow up so young, Hal said. Izuku jumped, having not heard the argument end. Sorry if I interrupted your pop, quizzed Kilowog. You didn't. But thanks, you're doing good by Razor. The big guy smiled uncharacteristically. Just trying to give him the help I needed at one point myself. Izuku turned away with a small blush of embarrassment. The console beeped. Communication from Lantern Thal Sinestro. Bring it up. A red/purple alien, looking distinctly elf-like, appeared. Jordan Fancy running into you here. Hey, Sinestro, how can we help? I have taken custody of a fugitive from these repulsive Spider Guild beings. Izuku shivered lightly, remembering those memory torture devices. Yeah, we've met. Let me guess. The Guild objected to you taking their prisoner. Evidently. At any rate, I wouldn't be entirely opposed to having you chauffeur me to OA on that luxury liner of yours. Not that we're not honored, but what's the catch? I'm temporarily trapped aboard their frigate. Meet me by the starboard tower. Getting close, and don't dawdle, Jordan. Of course he is. Izuku snorted softly. I'm on it. Incoming message from the Spider Guild frigate. Aya answered it unprompted this time, even as they approached the frigate. Green Lanterns, your fellow court member has illegally seized one of our captains. Do not assist him, or we will interpret your actions as hostile. Or, how about you give us our court member back, or we'll interpret your actions as not so nice. You're making a grave mistake. The communication shut off. I wonder who has a big shot like Sinestro caking in our assistance. Izuku frowned. Must be a pretty dangerous criminal if he wants our help getting them to OA. Or valuable, Aya added. Or both. Everyone stay on your guards. After a heavy firefight where the crew managed to rescue Sinestro, Izuku noticed something off about how the Spider Guild leader reacted. He was about to reveal some very dangerous information, then stopped and set his ship to self-destruct. Izuku frowned. He had assumed a vet like Sinestro would want to stay awake and make sure they got to OA if Neuroxys was that dangerous. Maybe Kilowog was right about Hal being too much like him, but Hal didn't get everything from him. Though that subject change, bad memories? Izuku heard the door open and spin around, forming a shield that blocked the first blast, the second catching Razor as he spun around. Sinestro, what are you doing? Hal demanded. He and Kilowog made shields as Sinestro turned the gun on them. Where are the constructs? Where is the power of Thal Sinestro? Izuku thought before noticing something. Sinestro's eyes were missing their spark, a sign of something Izuku had a lot of experience in. Mind control, he thought grimly. Sinestro, what are you doing? Hal demanded. He and Kilowog made shields as Sinestro turned the gun on them. Where are the constructs? Where's the power of Thal Sinestro? Izuku thought before noticing something. Sinestro's eyes were missing their spark, a sign of something Izuku had a lot of experience in. Mind control, he thought grimly. A red blast launched Sinestro back, forcing him against the wall. He was out immediately. See Razor? Protective rage is just as effective as hatred, Izuku smirked. I don't get it. Why did he attack us? More importantly, who was controlling him? They turned to him with open shock. Excuse me? Even Aya was stunned. I noticed something. He's a powerful lantern, but he didn't use his ring once. Furthermore, his eyes were missing that spark of intelligence. He was moving, but Sinestro wasn't home, Izuku said as he looked at Sinestro, or more accurately, at Neuroxys, who was sleeping. He suddenly reacting and bound the other three in constructs. What is your deal? Kilowog roared, forming a construct to attack only to realize the band was no longer around him. Tell me, who else is on this ship? We know nothing about him. Izuku smirked. Neuroxys. He's a highly wanted criminal, but his file is conveniently empty, as if he's simply a genius. I think otherwise. Make constructs, you two, and I'll let you go. Kilowog realized it as Razor made a dagger. The rings chose us, but if he's a mind controller, they don't recognize him. He grinned, and his hammer thumped against his palm. Nice catch, Midoriya. Indeed. Your mind is incredible. Aya complimented him. Well, Hal, going to make a ball? A bat, maybe? Izuku prompted. Hal just started spouting off demands and expletives. Aya, his ring, please. Razor, you get Sinestro's. Soon 2 green rings were in Izuku's hand, and Hal was struggling to escape the band. Aya, I have a device I want you to make. Something that scrambles electromagnetic waves in a certain proximity to the source. On Earth, mind control comes in one of 2 forms. Literally hopping body to body or a long-range brainwave transmission. By scrambling things within a certain field, Neuroxys shouldn't be able to body jump anymore. On it, Aya walked out. The interceptor landed on OA. Neuroxys contained in a bubble formed by Izuku with a large helmet-like device. You have Neuroxys. What is that device on him? Said asked, greeting them. Electromagnetic wave scrambler. Makes it so Neuroxys can't body hop while active. It's currently powered by Lantern Sinestro's ring, Izuku explained, rotating the fish to show the ring attached to the back. We figured out that when he takes over someone's mind that he can't use the ring because it chose us. And we aren't us if he's in control. Incredible. We knew he was dangerous, but a mind jumper? Said peered at Neuroxus. Let's get him to a science cell. I will send for an unused power battery to meet us there. Can we make a stop? Razor randomly asked. There's a planet nearby. I need to visit. Sure. We're early. Hal looked confused. Izuku was similarly confused, but more curious than anything. Izuku and Aya followed Razor, following him towards a certain city. Izuku stayed outside, out of sight. Razor, Aya's voice spoke. I apologize for following you. No, it is all right, Aya. I just did not hear you come in. This place, I know what happened here. This is where your love, Alana, ceased to live. I shared this memory. I shared this pain. Izuku briefly wondered what she was talking about, before remembering that Razor was briefly trapped in his worst memories. Yes, I'm intruding upon your grief. I will go. No, Aya, wait. Don't go. I do mourn Alana, but that was a different life. And I was a different person. I'm not the man who chose hate all those years ago. I have changed in so many ways. Thanks to you, Midoriya, the crew of the Interceptor. You all helped me when I didn't deserve it. You deserved it, Razor. You just didn't see it for yourself, Izuku sighed. Thank you, Aya. Sister. A smile spread across Izuku's face, and he flew back towards the ship, arriving in seconds to leave the newfound siblings to talk. What was it? Hal asked. He needed to come to terms with a piece of his past. Please don't ask him about it. I don't know much, but what I do is still pretty sad. I get it. I was just worried. Don't be. He has us. When he feels like it, he'll open up. Izuku returned to his quarters and brought out the Blue Lantern battery. You're here for him, aren't you? He asked it softly. It pulsed softly in response. I don't think he's ready just yet. But he's getting there. Izuku smiled and brought out the ring. His uniform split between blue and green, and he lifted it to the lantern. About time I charge you. I have a sinking feeling you'll need to go to him before he's ready, Izuku said. In fearful day, in raging night, with strong hearts full, our souls ignite. When all seems lost in the war of light, look to the stars, for hope burns bright. Izuku returned the lantern and ring to his pocket dimension and decided to rest. When they arrived, Izuku saw Scar waiting. What is that doing here? She demanded, pointing at Aya. She's a vital member of my crew, Hal answered. She is a failed experiment. I thought I ended the AI experiment. Scar protested. Izuku and Razor both tensed. Long story. Whatever, I don't have the time for this right now. Here is the coordinates of an active manhunter. I'm sure I don't have to explain why this has to be handled quietly. She asked sarcastically. Izuku accepted the chip and looked it over. Okay, I'll be the first to say it. I hate my life, Izuku said as the anti-monitor looked at them. Aya, initiate emergency ultra warp. Aya immediately got to work. Even ignoring safety protocols, it will take me 4 minutes. Then let's thin out the herd a bit, Hal said, moving towards the door. He paused and turned to Zox. If you want to help, here you go. He tossed the giant beach ball his ring. Izuku, Razor, and Kilowog followed him. They immediately got to work tearing through the manhunters, Razor, and Izuku, mowing through them far more efficiently than Hal and Kilowog. Seeing the anti-monitor up close, feeling the wrongness of the antimatter energy that powered it, Izuku knew he couldn't fight it, and chased after Hal and Kilowog. Sibling love, of course. Izuku watched the screen in horror, having seen her headpiece float away before they were too far forward to see anymore. His ring flashed, and a memory returned. Flashback. I built a number of safety programs in your ring, Aya told Izuku. Like what? We can always find one another. I can take you ring, and you can track my body. If it is stolen, I can forcefully deactivate it. And if one of us dies, the other will be able to know, she said. Flashback end. Razor. Where's Aya? Izuku focused. Is Aya still around? Is she still aware? He thought to the ring, ignoring the tears prickling his eyes. It flashed, then lit up with a HUD of Aya, her body was destroyed for sure. But her systems remained at a weak 42%. Dead. She tried to save me. I got surrounded on my way back. That thing killed her because she tried to save me. Razor was aflame. All is not lost in Aya's case, Izuku said, voice strong as he turned around, expanding the screen, happy tears pouring from his eyes. What is that? Hal asked. Aya made my ring remember. She added a function where we could find out if the other is safe. Works more for me than her. But while her body is destroyed, her program is still 43% functional. She's alive. Razor could scarcely believe it. She is. Somehow. I don't know how. But she managed to pull another hat trick off. Izuku wiped his eyes and steeped his nerves. But we can't look for her. She'll find her way to me. We have to look after ourselves right now. Right. Razor, I need someone to do a diagnostic on the engine. I'll go with him and check the hull, Izuku said. He followed Razor through the ship. Is it true? Or just a lie to make me feel better? Razor asked. It's true. I have something for you. Something I think you should have, Izuku focused. A blue lantern battery and ring appeared in his hands. What? But how Dash? Where Dash? The central battery gave them to me. But they aren't meant for me, Izuku said softly, holding them out towards him. You need them. Go on, put the ring on. If the suit forms it accepts you. Razor was hesitant, but slowly reached for the ring. It moved on its own, however, and slipped into his finger. His suit changed. See, you have hope and rage. Let's survive and find Aya, Izuku told him. While he'd been enthralled in the new feeling of two rings, Izuku had done the diagnostics and sent the information to the bridge. The diagram, Dash. I already did them. Everyone looked at Razor funny when they returned to the bridge. I had it. It decided it was time for Razor to wield it. One cannot wield two rings at once. Scar protested. Shut up. Of all the Guardians, I hate you most. But I won't kill you because that would upset my friends, Razor said, looking for calmer than his words conveyed. DMN, you got nice hair, Razor, Kilowog complimented. Thank you. Immediately after the anti-monitor killed Scar, it caught Hal in a bubble. You will watch as I kill your friends, it said. It began the process to absorb the interceptor. Almost immediately, it was interrupted by a red blast. We need to go. Zox, order your men to evacuate. Hal ordered. An abandoned shard? Never. Zox countered. In a few minutes, there won't be a shard to abandon. Either you order your men to live, or they die now. Hal shouted. Your men need you, Zox. Give the order to return to Ismalt. Get them to warm everything up to fight. Red Lanterns escape. Make your way to the escape vehicles. Run away. Zox ordered into his ring. Kilowog, take the controls. Let's go. The ship began to move and joined the Red Lanterns to flee. A thump on the ship made everyone nervous. Izuku frowned and raised his ring in query. It's Aya. Seems she's found us, he smiled, rushing from the bridge, Razor right behind him. He opened the ramp and waited. A manhunt hand appeared, then wires for another. Finally, she climbed in, looking at them. Aya, I'm so glad you're back. Izuku rushed forward and hugged her. You scared us. I'm sorry for any inconvenience I served. I could not upload to the ship and barely managed to upload into a manhunt CPU in the last half a second I had left. I am sorry if my apparent death hurt you, Razor. She looked at him. What did I miss? Izuku and Razor chuckled. We'll catch you up. Get yourself into a new body. Those legs look like they're going to fall apart with each step, Razor told her. Will do. She fell apart. Aya reconstructed, looking much more like herself. Now, why does my brother have a blue lantern ring? As she asked this, she looked at Izuku, already knowing he was at fault. I blame the blue central battery. It's the one that gave me the job, Izuku tried. Izuku, my love, you and I both know that nobody bosses you around. CRP, I'm in trouble. You are. Izuku listened from the next room as Razor and Aya confronted the fact that they said the I love you words. Razor said it was a moment of duress, and he needed time to think about if he actually did love her or was still trying to put his wife's face on hers. She accepted that, but Izuku knew had he himself never become a lantern, a much more negative scene would have taken place in there. Razor left with a nod to Izuku, and he entered. That went better than I expected, Aya said. But now my processors are stuck in a loop. I have a brother. I'm happy. So happy it hurts. Why does joy hurt? Why? Why? Oh boy, Izuku snickered. That is what we humans consider to be a heart squeeze, when we're so happy that it feels like our heart is going to burst from our chest. It's hyperbole, but it fits the strange happy pain. And you're happy because you have family. I'm your fiancé, but a brother is a much different thing. I've never had siblings, so I can't help you here. But my suggestion? After the battle, you talk with Razor. Understood. But my processors will not obey. Why won't they obey? I have a brother. I'm so happy. Izuku sighed, but helped her finish what she was doing to repair the interceptor, then guided the joy-drunk girl to the bridge. What happened with Aya? Razor asked immediately. She's just been in a loop of joy from your conversation. She likes having a brother. Izuku snickered when he blushed and ducked his head. The fight began. Izuku manned the guns because Aya was too distracted to do so. However, partway into the fight, something happened. The guns stopped firing. Izuku looked over his screens, only to find a lack of power to be the source. I'll check the engine, he said. Izuku rushed towards the engine bay, only to find Aya was draining the battery. What are you doing? I'm finishing this battle before more lives can be lost, Aya said, turning around and floating closer, grasping his hand in hers. A spark of green energy arced over. This body is now emotionless and will be a suicide unit. Aya is within your ring. Treat her well. Aya, the body spoke. Izuku stared in horror as the manhunters oriented themselves. Aya, this ain't you. Kilowog tried. I'm not Aya. She desired I become a bomb, and transferred herself away to save her own existence while I was to die. Now I am the Annihilator, and you all will die. The Annihilator unleashed a powerful blast that sent the ship flying into space. Izuku woke up to shaking. His eyes opened, and he let out a scream. What is going on? We're caught in a planet's gravity without any power. Izuku looked back and saw Kilowog and Hal both looking tense. The crash wasn't comfy, nor was it quick. The interceptor skipped across the sand and over massive rock formations like a rock on a lake, until finally they stopped. Razor, you all right? Hal spoke into his ring. I am, but now my power battery appears to be in worse condition than yours. I may have to steal a new 1-inch. Razor's voice came from the ring. Razor soon joined them. So what now? It'll be 10 hours before the engine is charged, Kilowog questioned. Take a nap, I guess. We don't really have anything else to do. I would not suggest that. The atmosphere is mostly methane, and it's leaking into the ship, Razor countered. Have you lost leave of your senses? Izuku grumbled. We have power rings. What danger is methane? Our rings are just about out of juice, Hal said. Izuku looked to Razor, who nodded. Firstly, blue ring, and use, Izuku said, pawning at Razor, and a whole fresh power battery to recharge with. Secondly, Izuku raised his own hand. I have never needed to recharge my ring. We won't suffocate. Kilowog, Razor, and Hal exchanged sheepish looks. They stayed in the ship until the engine recharged and lifted off. Still nursing sore egos from the tongue lashing Izuku and Aya had given them once Izuku had transferred her into the ship and she'd gotten the rundown. Turns out she was asleep in the ring. As Aya was not heartbroken and what took over the anti-monitor was not Aya. Love is a battlefield doesn't happen. Dash. And then you not only interrupted the disassembly of the Interceptor's AI, but stole it from our facilities, allowed it reassemble itself, then let it run rampant as if it were a living being. So let it be recorded in the book of OA that these dark days have been largely brought about by the actions of Honor Guard 2814, also known as Hal Jordan of Earth, apparented. Your AI, Aya, as you refer to it, is operating irrationally and has melded itself to the anti-monitor, one of the greatest threats in Guardian history. What do you have to say for yourself? Izuku spoke up. It's not Aya. I know all about the new name the AI has renamed itself. Annihilator, he said it like it was a curse. No, I mean the body isn't Aya. She sent her body as a suicide bomb with a payload of all the Green Lantern battery engine's power. She could SCK from the engine. Izuku stood and glared at him. Aya is still here in the ship, recalibrating and recovering from transferring herself into a manhunt body, a new body, then into my power ring all in under an hour. That Annihilator is nothing more than a walking body. It's still the Anti-Monitor, just with a new face and heavy amnesia. So maybe you should be showing some gratitude to Aya for effectively extending the time we have to work with. I estimate a week to 3 months before the Annihilator finds its purpose. That's extra time to work with to come up with a way to destroy it. Izuku let his willpower energy manifest in a way similar to Razor's rage aura. And one last thing, don't insult my Aya again, or I'm shoving you into the central battery of the Red Lanterns personally. Izuku slammed a green fist against the console and hung up the call. He sighed, exhausted from holding back the rage he felt in that moment. For someone with no base emotions, he manages to get some really good digs in, Kilowog said. You did well to control your anger. I would have lost control, Razor said stiffly. Listen, as we don't have the power to fight the Anti-Monitor, Hal said. What we need is a game changer. Something unpredictable. What about the orange energy? Razor asked, then saw their blank looks. You've never heard of the legend of the Orange Lanterns? Keep going. Ages ago, a race of conquerors, obsessed with possessing the galaxy, harnessed a powerful orange energy. Their battery was said to exert a strange influence, so only warriors with a strong sense of duty were chosen. These orange lanterns brought Atrocitus to a standstill. Kilowog whistled. Must be pretty potent stuff to let you go toe-to-toe with Atrocitus. Yes, it was the only sector, a frontier space he hadn't conquered. But then, almost overnight, the Orange Lanterns disappeared and were never heard from again. According to legend, their homeworld was reputed to be Akira. This power, why hasn't anyone else looked for it? Hal asked. Razor looked at him solemnly. Many have. None returned. Of course, Izuku sighed. We're running out of options. We'll fly to Akira and try to find this orange power. Then we can deal with the Annihilator. If you don't mind, I'll be in my quarters. Razor walked out. We should split up. We'll cover more ground that way, Hal suggested. Ugh, this planet gives me the creeps, Kilowog muttered. They flew off in different directions. It took a while, but Izuku managed to find something that felt strange. I found a tunnel on the west side. Going to investigate, Izuku reported. Let us know if you find anything, Hal said. Izuku flew through the tunnel slowly, Ring scanning his surroundings. Water dripped from an invisible place. Oh, what is that smell? Izuku gagged, then heard some muttering. Is someone there? My name is Izuku Midoriya, and I'm a Green Lantern. I am not here to harm you. No answer. Izuku saw a light from one of the tunnel openings and flew down to it, coming out into what looked like an ancient temple with a tall set of stairs and a much more unique battery compared to what he'd seen so far. Rings covered the stairs like leaves in autumn, adding to the atmosphere. There it is. The game changer. Izuku walked forward. I didn't realize it would be so appealing, no. Aya is appealing. This is an orange light. That's mine. A snarling voice cut through the haze that had been growing in Izuku's mind, and he froze, finding he'd been walking up the stairs. Who are you? Come out, and I'll explain why I need this. Words are cheap. There are none. You can trade me for my battery. Are you part of the Orange Lantern Corps? Izuku asked. I'm Larfleeze, and I am the Orange Lantern Corps. That didn't bode well. Where are the rest of you? They aren't around anymore. Look, I only want to borrow your battery, Izuku said, taking a few steps down, though he found it to be particularly difficult. I'll give it right back after we stop the universe killer. Liar. That's what everyone says. Larfleeze shouted. Everyone? Then why would they? What powers it? Why is it trying to manipulate me? Izuku backed away a bit more. I'm the keeper of the Orange Lantern, the Lantern of Avarice. Larfleeze walked out of the shadows, revealing himself to look like a coyote with a bipedal body and tusks. Avarice. Izuku frowned, then gasped. Greed. A longing of ownership, of course. Yes. By now others would have taken it. Why haven't you? Larfleeze growled. My past for the most part. And I'm very possessive of my woman. I've had to learn to control my longing. Izuku fully backed away, reaching the steps. Now, feeling the aura weakening. I'll sit right here and explain what's going on. And why we came looking. Why we needed to come looking. Izuku spent over 2 hours talking with Larfleeze about what had been going on in the wider universe. The Anti-Monitor, and much of himself. Periodically checking in with the others to say he hadn't found the orange energy. Why do you keep lying to them? Larfleeze growled after Izuku yet again delayed his friends. Because if it comes down to it, I'll just say it might not be here and we leave. You get to keep it. I can control my avarice, but I doubt they can. Izuku shook his head. Though I do have a question. These are all your shinies, right? Yes, mine. My shinies. Haven't you wanted more? Izuku asked. Of course, but I can't go. What if others come and take my shinies? Izuku nodded. That's a valid belief. But I have a human business proposition you might like. Something that will allow you to remain with your shinies and get more. Go on. Larfleeze was intrigued. Have you ever heard the concept of a pyramid scheme? Izuku returned to the ship. I found the battery, but its guardian refused to help, even try to kill me. We'd best mark this planet as off-limits for any Lantern Corp, Izuku told them. They looked happy, then upset before understanding. Well, don't worry about it. At least we know where it is. That's an emotion we don't have to worry about ending up evil, Hal said. Air, did you ever find out what powered it? Yep. Izuku leaned back in his chair. Well, it's a negative emotion, Izuku. None of you could use it. Hell, I doubt anyone without very specific circumstances could use it. All right, I mark that planet is deadly and off-limits, Kilowog said, recognizing the look in Izuku's eye as one of I won't tell a soul. They exited Ultra Warp over OA and descended towards the planet's surface. You know you're in for a huge reprimand for how you spoke to Apocorrect. Kilowog asked Izuku. I do it again. And I don't make idle threats. Green Lantern Izuku Midoriya of 2814. You stand accused of threatening the life of a guardian. How do you plead? Said asked. Izuku looked at them with a raised eyebrow. Not guilty. We have the recording of the conversation in question. Play it. So let it be recorded in the book of OA that these dark days have been largely brought about by the actions of Honor Guard 2814. Also known as Hal Jordan of Earth, Apparanted. Your AI, Aya, as you refer to it, is operating irrationally and has melded itself to the Anti-Monitor, one of the greatest threats in Guardian history. What do you have to say for yourself? Izuku spoke up. It's not Aya. Oh, I know all about the new name the AI has renamed itself. Annihilator, he said it like it was a curse. No, I mean the body isn't Aya. She sent her body as a suicide bomb with a payload of all the Green Lantern battery power energy she could SCK from the engine. Izuku stood and glared at him. Aya is still here in the ship, recalibrating and recovering from transferring herself into a manhunter body, a new body, then into my power ring all in under an hour. That Annihilator is nothing more than a walking body. It's still the Anti-Monitor, just with a new face and heavy amnesia. So maybe you should be showing some gratitude to Aya for effectively extending the time we have to work with. I estimate a week to 3 months before the Annihilator finds its purpose. That's extra time to work with to come up with a way to destroy it. Izuku let his willpower energy manifest in a way similar to Razor's Rage aura. And one last thing, don't insult my Aya again, or I'm shoving you into the central battery of the Red Lanterns personally. That is all the evidence we need, Appa smirked. Do you know what would happen if I shoved you into the Red Lantern central battery? Izuku asked, getting silence. No? Well, Razor's seen it happen. The guy survived, physically unharmed, though he was mentally traumatized and lost his ring. Apparently being shoved into the red battery feels like taking a bath in a pool of lava, then cooling down in acid afterwards. Even if it didn't hurt you. I take threats to those I care about very seriously. And I respond in kind. Izuku stood back straight and proud. Threaten their safety. I threaten yours. Threaten their health. And I threaten yours. Though it may not be the same form of health damage. I think we've heard enough. You are hereby SDRPPD of your rank as a Green Lantern. Hand over your ring, and you will be returned to Earth post-haste. Appa spoke. No. Silence. Excuse. Me? He asked. You didn't give me my ring, the one that originally chose. Me was destroyed, and I never got a replacement from the Green Lantern Corps. What I use now is not the standard issue Green Lantern ring, and as such it is not yours to demand. I hand over. Izuku lifted his chin and glared at Appa. Furthermore, it would never obey you nor find a replacement. It is a Green Lantern ring. Yes, but it was not made by the Guardians. It was made by Aya, and I'm open to fighting whoever you want me to fight. They can pluck the ring from my cold, dead body. Until that day, it will remain exactly where it is. As for me not being a member of this corp, Izuku grinned. I certainly have enough hope and rage to intrigue the other corps. My prospects aren't as bleak as that. I counter your proposal to reject Izuku Midoriya from the corp, spoke up. I've seen the boy's past. Even if you throw him out, another ring will simply go to him. His willpower has been forged through 2 wars. I doubt any ring that decides that can be kept from choosing him. Appa snarled. I refuse to accept this. Izuku Midoriya is an arrogant child who believes himself something special because he saved us. No, I don't, Izuku protested. I honestly couldn't care less if you all hated my guts. I saw people in danger and reacted. And arrogant? Bullshit. I just have an opinion and the will to stand by it regardless of the consequences. Something I think rankles your robe because other than me and Hal, nobody has done so in thousands of years. And those that came close still had too much respect to do it to your faces. Izuku had a steely eyes glare fixed on Appa. You threatened my fiancée. Other than her, the only person who's ever loved me was my mother. Be glad I didn't manifest a wormhole and strangle you where you're talking from. You couldn't possibly do that, he scoffed, but still seemed troubled. I'm the strongest lantern you got, and much stronger than any before me. Just how much of my abilities do you know? Izuku smirked. And how many can you only assume? I'll see myself out, and I'm going to help with the Annihilator. After that, we'll see if I should find another corp to fight for. Izuku walked out. He bought enough time. He returned to the ship and found the others waiting. What did you find? Izuku asked. Coordinates in a secret bunker lab, hybrid, under her quarters. They're familiar to me, but I know I've never seen them before, Aya said, looking perplexed. Not a good look on her. Izuku frowned, then growled. What if you have, but just can't remember it? Because Scar wiped your memory. Then this could be a chance to learn more about me, she said. Return your pieces to their storage and pretend to be male in a cube hologram where you normally take the form of a sphere. We'll have you pretend to be Lanos, Hal said. Very well. Does that interest you, Izuku? Aya asked. Not particularly. I can certainly tell a guy's hot, but get in the sheets with him? Hell no, Izuku chuckled. Blue, your flirting is nauseatingly logical. Kilowog left the main room to get on the bridge. Translate those coordinates, Izuku told her. I do not have the knowledge to do so, she answered. You do or did. Trust you instincts. They will guide you, Izuku told her. Adults rarely remember their childhood, but even smells and sounds can bring them nostalgia of something they don't remember. I trust you, and I believe you can do the same. I believe in you, Aya, Razor said. Midoriya is correct. You can do this. Aya paused before bringing up the coordinates, and they watched her begin to slowly work through what she was doing. Meanwhile, Hal went forward and took the ship into orbit. They came out of Ultra Warp in front of a planet. The coordinates lead here. I will navigate us to them, Aya said, her sphere shape then flickering into a cube. Izuku smirked, proud of his girlfriend's next step to being alive. I knew you could do it, love, he smiled. They managed to get down into the atmosphere. Even the shock reveal of asteroid living space turtles wasn't enough to surprise them with what they'd been through. Izuku let his shock appear, before opening a one-way channel to Aya. Izuku was floored by the discoveries. Maybe we can use that, appeal to her emotions. If she managed to get past the firewall once, maybe we can trick her into doing it again, Hal said, sticking to the story. That would be an intriguing way of stopping her. But we wouldn't be able to get close enough to do so. Razor can do it. He's gotten close to her before. and rather than continue, as she left rather than hurt him. Izuku had come up with a story and plan, to use Razor as a false sacrificial lamb, something a guardian would see as a means to use so as to distract the Annihilator for an attack. Perhaps, but even then any attack would simply be warded off. How about Orim? Our rings can't work near the stuff, and I couldn't walk near it. Nice one, Hal. That would work for sure, Izuku said, feeling a presence listening to his thoughts, shifting his thought path. And it wouldn't kill her. If we could separate her from a body and near a Green Lantern battery, maybe it will be enough to cleanse whatever taint the antimatter energy has done to her. I have an idea, but Orim is a very rare mineral. Lady, it's your lucky day, Kilowog grinned. We happen to know where an entire mine of the stuff is. Izuku watched from the ship with Kilowog, and Hal as Scar directed Razor in how to make the warhead. It's too big, Izuku finally said. That's enough to tear a planet in two, Kilowog agreed. Aya's body was supercharged with green energy. That might give it a resistance, if not completely neutralize it, Izuku hummed. She read my mind earlier. Did she touch yours? No, Hal answered. Nada. Good. I fed her more of the plan in my head. Not my first rodeo dealing with telepathy. It's how I busted out of those memory crowns from the prison, Izuku mused. She has no idea? Not a sliver. And don't worry about her betraying us. I have a plan for that. It goes to show how much they didn't like Scar that none of them even tried to refute the idea, or got concerned by the grin on Izuku's face. Now we have the warhead. We just have to figure out a way to find Aya. Hal said once the warhead was attached to the Interceptor's belly. Oh, don't worry. I already know where she is, Scar said. They came out of Ultra Warp to find the Annihilator sucking up a star system. Razor, you're up, Hal called. Razor nodded and left. So what exactly is your place in this crew Lantermiteria? Scar asked. I'm both backup and the logic. After Aya took over the Anti-Monitor's body, she blasted us into space. Ended up getting dragged into a planet's gravity. After crash landing, these idiots decided to hike through a methane-based atmosphere 26 kilometers to the nearest settlement, Izuku drawled. I reminded them that while their rings were nearly depleted, Razor had a fully charged ring, and I myself was fully charged as I was handling the guns during the battle. I don't follow, she frowned. These idiots wanted to hike through a methane-filled atmosphere 26 kilometers from the ship on a 55 degrees Celsius day with 5% power rings constantly active. I just reminded them that we could sit tight and wait for the engine to recharge, Izuku explained. She looked at them with disdain. Yes, I can see why you're needed. And you are likely the only reason these idiots have survived so long. Fair, Hal waved a hand, focusing instead on targeting the Annihilator. How close are you getting? You must hurry. She'll notice us before long. Just a few. More. Got it. Fire. No. Razor's still in the blast radius. Hal countered. Scar suddenly leapt forward and fired the warhead. Izuku used the opportunity she gave when she locked onto the warhead and watched its path to slip something from his ring, holding it in his right hand. Boom! You delude yourself. I am a guardian. I am the heir to power the likes of which you cannot fathom. You are a brief candle upon this plane, a wee mortal. You know nothing. I know something, Hal groaned. I have smarter friends than you. She spun around, and Hal collapsed. Izuku stood before her, a shield up. You may be powerful for a child, but that does not match my own. She blasted him. Izuku slipped the item he'd taken from his ring onto the finger his first lantern ring had been on, and much like Razor, his uniform changed into a half-and-half suit. The ring he got from Larfleeze came around as his shield shattered, but rather than make a different shield, his new ring began to absorb the beam's power with ease that shocked even Izuku. What is this? What is that ring? Scar demanded in shock and slight fear. This? Oh, this is a little gift I got from a friend of the Orange Lantern Corps. Fueled by avarice, Izuku's grin turned malevolent. I could take all the power you throw at me. Izuku's arm tucked in and his fist pulled back to his side and twisted like it was a key. She panicked and backed away, but found to her horror that she couldn't turn her arms away. What is happening? She cried out as the beam of green energy slowly began to get corrupted, turning orange from the point of contact with Izuku's fist. I've connected to you, your very emotions, where the willpower you use comes from. You can't leave because I'm currently draining every scrap of your power out. But the AI will attack us. She panicked. Oh, no, Aya's safe, Izuku smirked. Hello, mother. It is not a good day to be you. Aya's voice was filled with disdain. But you tricked me. Hey, turnabout's fair play, Izuku grinned. Oh, and Razor, Kilowog, and Howl by us time. Aya, time to go. Already ahead of you, my love. The door opened to reveal Aya in her newest and most updated and mature body. The orange construct of a buzzsaw appeared above the half-green, half-orange beam, and it launched itself at Scar. The beam turned fully orange and impacted her chest. What should I do with the security logs? Aya asked. Scramble them like the Aurum affected them. Destroy the footage, Izuku said as the body of Scar fell. Orange tendrils lashed out and stabbed into the body, ripping out a struggling and horrified Scar. Even as the body began to shrivel up, life essence and energy drained from it to turn it into a husk. You're going to be my SLV for the next many, many thousands of years, Izuku smirked at her. You won't get away with this. The Guardians will dash, Scar struggled as her astral body was absorbed by the ring. They think you're already dead. Such a shame that your body was destroyed by the anti-monitor, Izuku said without pity, Scar's head finally being sucked in. Set the ship to randomize an ultra-warp path and send it at the Annihilator. Already done. Let's go. The two flew through the broken windscreen, and Izuku raised his green ring. Guys, out of the way. They immediately shot to the sides, and the interceptor shot forward, impacting the Annihilator before disappearing in a green blink. How far away will it get, do you think? I sent it towards the largest cluster of suns I could find. It will take a while for it to return. Good. That means you have time to explain this, Kilowog said as he flew up to them. Why are you orange? I struck a deal Larfleeze couldn't refuse. You won't get away with this. The Guardians will dash, Scar struggled as her astral body was absorbed by the ring. They think you're already dead. Such a shame that your body was destroyed by the anti-monitor, Izuku said without pity, Scar's head finally being sucked in. Set the ship to randomize an ultra-warp path and send it at the Annihilator. Already done. Let's go. The two flew through the broken windscreen, and Izuku raised his green ring. Guys, out of the way. They immediately shot to the sides, and the interceptor shot forward, impacting the Annihilator before disappearing in a green blink. How far away will it get, do you think? I sent it towards the largest cluster of suns I could find. It will take a while for it to return. Good. That means you have time to explain this, Kilowog said as he flew up to them. Why are you orange? I struck a deal Larfleeze couldn't refuse. So, what sort of deal did you strike? Hal asked curiously. I offered to tell him about a way to get all the shinies he wanted without having to leave his cave. How in the hell is he supposed to do that? Kilowog grunted. I taught him the pyramid scheme. The dash, Hal actually coughed at that. The pyramid scheme? Yep. In return, I got absolute ownership of one orange ring and battery, and total immunity to him and his choices, Izuku smirked. Back up a bit, would you? What is a pyramid scheme? Razor asked. A man at the top has something. Others want it, so he sells them a license to use it and sell their own licenses. In return, he gets a small portion of their profits, Izuku answered. I taught Larfleeze that he could basically rent out his rings in return for a small percentage of the shinies of his subordinates. And they could make subordinates and so on. In return, if they fail to meet quota, their superior can claim the ring back, all their shinies and their soul. Hold up. Soul? Anyone killed by an orange lantern will be enslaved by the ring that killed them, bent to the user's desires and corrupted by avarice. If one doesn't have enough shinies, they can pay in souls instead, Izuku explained happily. Best part is that the more rings there are, the less power there is to go around. At that point, they will start to need to recharge their rings. Eventually, it'll either remain stable or collapse, at which point Larfleeze can reclaim every ring but my own and all the souls within. When I fully explained it, he was literally falling over himself to give me what I wanted, and even offered to make me his equal should I ever longing to. He loved it that much. Holy SHD. No wonder nobody ever got the battery. Everyone who tries got killed and used to kill others. Kilowog burst out. I'll say this again. Hal flew over and ruffled Izuku's hair. You, my little gremlin friend, are terrifying. Thank you, Izuku smiled adorably, adorable to Aya only. Oh, and I killed Scar, so she and her immense scientific knowledge is mine now, as well as the fact she can't tell anyone of what happened with the Annihilator. Izuku looked at the ring. It was specially crafted by Larfleeze from the central battery, and was unique to show his cunning, greed, and that he was different from the rest of the Future Corp. Theirs would be more flat with rings of orange glow. His was more blocky, reminiscent to the ring he once had. Izuku heard beeping and looked down at his green ring. It was receiving some kind of signal. How odd, Izuku frowned. Lantern Midoriya of Sector 2814 here. What is the nature of this message? No response. Respond. Nothing. Dim in a dash. Green Lanterns respond. I'm here. We're here. Sorry it took so long to answer you, but we must have been in a poor reception zone until now. What do you mean? This is the first I've tried to contact you. Appa appeared to glare at Hal. Izuku slipped off his orange ring and hid it away. Funny, but then who's been trying to get a hold of me? Izuku asked, holding up his ring just as it began to beep again. It does not matter. There is a crisis, and the interceptor is required immediately. Right? About the ship. We sort of had to use it as a battering ram to stop the Annihilator from eating the galaxy. But we'll fly to you as fast as we can. Never mind coming to OA. You are to proceed immediately to the planet Ranks. A huge manhunter force is presently attacking the planet. Ranks? That abandoned place? Why are they doing that? Why, indeed, Sergeant Kilowog. That is the root of our concern. If Aya is trying to obtain something from Ranks, the Guardians order you to stop her at all costs. The hologram vanished. I'll get us there, Izuku said, slipping his orange ring back on. With a hard thought, he summoned Scar. Teleport us to Ranks. Safely, he ordered the woman, who now had half her face completely missing, sharp teeth, and a serpent's tongue. In an instant they were there. Izuku pulled Scar back in and out the ring in his Green Lantern ring. How did you know she could do that? Hal asked. I didn't. Just a guess. Razor's right. The signal's stronger. Whatever's calling me is here, Izuku said, holding up his flashing ring. There's no people down here to call you dumbass. That's the ring your robot girlfriend made you, correct? Must be faulty, Gardner retorted. Just because I'm getting a signal doesn't mean it's someone. Maybe it's something. The thing the Manhunters are here for, perhaps. Izuku raised his eyebrow. Actually get some experience before you try and tell your betters what their rings are doing. Betters? At least I'm not some quirkless kid from Japan whose only skill is surviving like a rat. Izuku just ignored him, staying silent. That's right. I know who you are, Izuku Midoriya. And guess what? I told Japan. Within an instant, a pair of blades were being held at Guy Gardner's neck. Only it wasn't Izuku who made them. Aya, the most controlled of them, had a look of pure rage on her face. How dare you do that? You better hope you die in this fight, or I will personally make sure you live a living hell. She snarled, voice overlaying with many angry eyes. God damn, that's hot. Izuku looked at her dreamily, a line of BLD running from his nose. You got a little. Hal waved at his nose area, and Izuku wiped it. Huh, that's a first. Guess I got a really big thing for dangerously protective chicks. You got a spontaneous BLD nose because Aya triggered some hormones. Kilowog looked baffled, confused, and disgusted. It's a Japanese thing. When a man suddenly gets extremely aroused, the amount of force involved tends to burst a few weaker BLD vessels in the nose, Izuku answered absently, enjoying the show as Aya tore Guy Gardner a new one. It's better than the Americans, at least. Most of them never get their pants off before they're done. This has just strayed too far into territory. I don't want to know. Kilowog turned away. Yes, while that little bit of information is valuable blackmail material, this is neither the time nor the place for it, Razor said. I think they're finally realizing how much of a weirdo you are, Aya said as she came up behind him. Why do you know this stuff? You'd be surprised the ed-up things you see from depraved criminals who can have whatever power your wildest nightmares can come up with when you're homeless. Izuku answered entirely serious. Besides, you love when I use some of my tame, weirdo knowledge in bed. We have the end of the universe to stop here. Get your heads in the game. Kilowog shouted at them. Pity. Izuku sighed. They had to wait half an hour before the next attack occurred, and Gardner vanished for a good chunk of that time. But Izuku couldn't help but sass him when he returned. Hey look, it's the lantern who got his butt reamed by my girlfriend, Izuku said, just loud enough for Gardner to hear. Attack, he shouted. Izuku snickered at everyone charged forward. Izuku led the charge, spinning like a tornado, unleashing a storm of green rings that fired out and came back, each one cutting through a manhunter like butter. Izuku soon found himself to be alone with Aya beside him. His ring flashed again. Suddenly, he had a revelation. I turn off your emotions right now. He shouted and focused. She didn't answer, so he assumed she must have done so. Within moments, his emotions were gone. All of the manhunters stopped firing, instead focusing on the green lanterns above. Why did they turn away? Aya asked. They kill sentient beings with emotion. By removing ours from the equation, they no longer have a reason to kill us, Izuku explained as they passed through the robots. Reaching the force field, it opened up and let them pass, closing around the body in the one manhunter that noticed and attempted to follow them. Emotions on. Let's find out why I was being called. The pair followed the beeping of Izuku's ring, watching the very planet shift and reshape itself to allow their passage. Soon they were in the bowels of the planet and found the source. Is it just me, or did you lose a few pounds? Izuku asked with a smirk, looking at the head of the anti-monitor. Haha, it answered. What do you want from us? And how can you even be alive after Aya's body tore your head off? Your concept of life is no more complete than a worm's. The body of the artificial intelligence you call Aya appeared to kill me, but her attack merely separated the helmet from a suit of armor. My life force clung to the upper shell, and I survived the assault. I felt the pull of an automated presence, as with the manhunters, yet different, more complex, more expansive. My plan was to use the resources of this world to recharge myself until I could rise once again, even more powerful. Then, as the AI commanded, the manhunters came. Izuku decided not to correct the anti-monitor statement about Aya being an artificial intelligence. What does she want from you? Why is she sending her armies here? I was created to probe the mystery of creation, to travel to the very BRTH of the universe itself. A time displacement cylinder is a component of this helm. I can only surmise the body knows this now and desires that ability. For what possible reason? Would want to time travel? I asked. Izuku answered her. To remake the universe. If it can get back to the moment before creation, she can use her new powers to rewrite what would be and make everything lifeless. Correct. And she's coming for it. I need you to defend me. Your oath demands you do so, the anti-monitor said. Izuku snorted and put his orange ring on, unleashing a powerful blast at the head before it could react. It cracked down the middle. A tendril ripped out the singular glowing object. Time displacement cylinder recovered. I will take that. Izuku didn't turn at Aya's voice, instead unleashing some of the stored-up power of Scar's blast. The cylinder was atomized. Good luck with your plan without that, Izuku snorted before turning around and looking way up. The body was right behind them. Girl, you got stealth tech in that thing? Because I swear, I did not hear you walk in. Your attempts at humor are nothing to me, the black and blue-looking Aya said. If that were true, you would ignore it, because you wouldn't give a SHD, Izuku said before firing at the robot. Right before the attack would land, it leaned to the side, letting it pass. But once it had gone past, Izuku bent the beam downwards into the robot body. It didn't realize it in time, and by the time it did, Izuku and Aya were already flying away, and it was bound in place by orange shackles. This is of no consequence. I will be free as soon as he loses concentration. Then the body exploded. Raw antimatter energy exploded outward in a wave that tore the manhunters apart, but left Aya and the lanterns alive. What happened? Hal asked once they had met up with the tired and injured lanterns. Found the anti-monitor's head, learned it had a time travel device, killed it, destroyed the device, then used the opportunity to rupture the anti-monitor's body via damaging a power coupling. Antimatter is highly unstable when in contact with matter after all, Aya explained. Really? Hal asked, looking gobsmacked. What can I say? I saw an opportunity, and I took it. I did pay attention in physics class, the fully green-suited boy shrugged. I wasn't actually expecting it to work. But next time the universe is in danger, don't call me. It hasn't even been a year, and I've saved the world from 2 universal dangers. I need a vacation. His words caused laughter in everyone that heard him. Laughter that quickly grew hysterical as they realized not only was he serious, but that he had a point. What was their life at this point? So, how exactly did you defeat the Annihilator? Appa frowned at Izuku. The crew of the Interceptor had returned to OA with the rest of the Corp, and were among the first to be called up. One of the Honor Guard members were before them. I attacked the Aya old body, as I predicted it dodged, which is when I curved the beam downward from behind her, sending it flooding through the body to destroy everything it could, Izuku explained. And yet, when attacked by the Interceptor's main weapon, not even a scratch was caused to the body. How did you manage it? That was the armored shell. The internals were far less durable. Even with my full force, I barely managed to bend a few things. The only actual thing of importance I managed to bend was a power coupling, damaging it just enough for a small portion of antimatter energy to escape from its storage space. And well, I pay attention in class. Matter and antimatter really don't get along, so once it was out of the safe area, it went kaboom, eating the anti-monitor body in the same way it had eaten everything else. Izuku shrugged. Considering the size of the explosion, that half of ranks is gone, and every manhunt is self-detonated. When the wave hit them, I find it reasonable to assume that when the wave hit the Annihilator, it caused some kind of feedback loop that hijacked the signal it was using to control the manhunters and ruptured them from the inside. But that wouldn't have caused it to explode in an antimatter explosion. It would, considering that it was raw antimatter energy, traveling along the communication wavelength and entering through their receivers, interacting with their own material-based energy, and exploded. Izuku explained his thinking. Well, scarce. But she belongs to him now, so her thinking is his thinking. That is surprisingly advanced knowledge for a race as young as yours, said Spoke. Yeah, science class briefly mentioned the topic. The rest was logical reasoning and things I've picked up while being part of the Corp. Izuku made a wiggling motion with his hand. Back when we were stuck in frontier space, I spent a lot of time talking with Aya. The topic was briefly mentioned. Yes, the AI. We've allowed her continued activation because there were more important things to do. But now that the danger has passed, again, it's time she was deactivated. Izuku smirked and crossed his arms. You can't. We are the Guardians, and we can whatever we like, boy. Appa retorted. No, I mean it goes against the very laws of the Corp. Elaborate. Green Lanterns are given the role of the protection of life and liberty within their assigned sector. Aya, as my future wife, will be living with me on Earth in my sector. She is a machine. She cannot marry. Appa snarled. Actually, we have proof that Aya was created with the spark of life. Izuku smirked. Hal lifted his ring, and the story of Aya's origin was revealed. 033 to 320. We found this audio log in a secret lab of Guardian Scars. After getting the coordinates from her secret bunker, her on OA under her very quarters. Off the map, with a secret entrance, Hal explained. It self-destructed soon afterwards. We only got out because the system was off for so long it took it a while to boot up and register us as intruders. Which means you cannot deactivate Aya, because she is not a machine. She is alive, Izuku said with a smirk. And it goes against the very laws you created the Corp to uphold. Imagine the precedent you could set, killing a being because someone else used her face to cause mass destruction. Why, if someone used technology to pretend to be me, you'd have made the legal precedent for me to kill them for identity theft and potential for mass destruction. Lantern Midoriya is correct. You cannot kill Aya for being a potential threat. That's like killing a race for the fact that they are immune to willpower energy, says smiled as she spoke. Apple looked calm, but everyone could feel the sheer impotent rage emanating off him. Fine. What of his status remaining as a Green Lantern? Why should he be removed from a corp? He has been key in defeating 2 universe-level threats in under a year. If it weren't for the little time he has been a Lantern, I would push for him to become part of the Honor Guard, said. I'd respectfully refuse the position. Seems like if I did it would be a hell of a lot easier to find more universe threats, Izuku said, and a few Guardians had to work to hide their amusement. In fact, if I did, it would probably cause another to pop up just to spite me. Said laughed. Unfortunately, I think you are quite correct. You may go. The crew left the room immediately. Future waifu? Aya asked. You did give me a ring with your heart. It might be jumping the gun a bit, but I felt that was as good a proposal as we would get in our situation. I feel it was perfectly adequate. When should we set the wedding? Aya asked. When and where you mean? I was actually thinking of doing it on Odom. Well, there we can watch St. Walker's jaw drop as Razor surprises him with how far he's come in the last month, Izuku. That would be something to remember. Razor had a softer than usual smile at the idea. Any other requirements? Aya asked. Small. The crew, Blue Lanterns, says maybe. Other than them, I don't think we have any friends who can make it on time without being away from their homes for far too long. You have access to teleportation, Hal said. Yes. But I'm not going around the universe, collecting everyone we've helped for my wedding. That would be a massive pain in the butt, Izuku said without a care. Here's something you two have missed, Kilowog piped up. Theme. What sort of wedding will it be? Human, or some other race's wedding? Izuku gave him the look of what is wrong with you. Nobody from Earth except for Hal will be coming. Why would it be a human wedding? Now I was actually thinking about it being a Valkyrian wedding, did a little research. Where on Earth the father walks the bride down the aisle, on Vokrej the eldest brother does so. Otherwise, they're mostly identical. My story, my rules, I have no idea what Razor is or what wedding traditions his race has. This is my own idea. Razor looked stunned. You would do that? He asked. Of course, she is your sister, and with her marriage ritual fairly similar to an Earth one, it won't take nearly as much time to memorize the steps. Plus, everyone knows that a wedding is for the woman, and I would never deprive Aya of this. I love the idea. Are you willing, Razor? I asked him. Yes. Wonderful. I will do some research and handle the necessary organizing. Hal Jordan, humans have something called a bachelor party, correct? Hal smirked. Say no more. I'll have him distracted whenever you'd schedule it. I'm not doing the wedding because I'm not good at writing in the first place and would butcher it. Hal, Izuku and his new wife, Aya Midoriya, returned to Earth, and, as he suspected, within hours of their return, a member of the Japanese embassy in America immediately met up with them, accompanied by a familiar American hero. Izuku Midoriya, you are to immediately hand over the device you are using to pretend to have a quirk and submit yourself for questioning on your mother murder. Izuku looked at the man with annoyance. No, clearly the man was expecting this. You will. As a citizen of Japanese, you are a minor, and as such must obey the hero commission, the man continued. I will not. In fact, I am planning on immediately applying for American citizenship, he said, seeing and recognizing the #1 hero of America beside him, Stars and Stripes. You want to become an American citizen? She asked him. Yes. As of last month, I am an 18-year-old. And want to immigrate due to the fact that as a quirkless individual, I was seen, treated, and identified as a second-rate citizen. I was refused medical attention from hospitals, and police refused to listen to me when I tried reporting various crimes. The way I see it, if I return to Japan, I will be endorsing that treatment, Izuku told her. I will be speaking with my superiors. If you won't be returning to Japan today, where can we find you to contact you? She asked, happy to screw over Japan and eager to have this adorable guy as part of America. My wife will make a device that can contact me. If I'm free, I will arrive within the hour. If not, I'll appear a location we agree on the moment I can. I have a sector to patrol after all, Izuku explained. Wife? She asked. Izuku nodded to Aya. Aya Midoriya, an artificial intelligence that has a soul. She is as alive as you or I. It was an alien wedding for personal reasons. Japan refuses to accept this marriage. It is null and void. The ambassador proclaimed, I work for an intergalactic peacekeeping force and recently destroyed a being that could destroy this planet without even blinking at 100 nukes. I don't recognize your authority, Izuku spat. You are a human, and as such you are subject to human laws of your country. Now hand yourself in or be declared a villain. While technically that is true, as if a few minutes ago Izuku Midoriya became an asylum seeker in America, until such time as a citizenship can be decided, this is out of your hands. You'd better report back to your superiors. Stars and Stripes told the man. We will have that ring, he proclaimed, only to yelp as Aya, Izuku, and how all glowed, running away in fear. Idiot, Nizu could spend 10,000 years and not crack a tenth of the functions of the ring, let alone be able to reproduce it, Izuku scoffed. I managed to create one in 4 days, Aya said. Yes, but you are the most advanced AI in the universe, sentient and worked of data from my ring with scientific knowledge Earth hasn't even conceived to be possible. And most of what you did was copy-paste what my first ring already had with optimization of a few programs, Izuku smiled, kissing her cheek. No doubt you could spend a mere century and revolutionize the ring beyond even the Guardian's wildest dreams. But for a short, but if work you managed to already enhance the ring beyond what Hal and Kilowog have access to. Okay, that's both mushy, terrifying, and teeth-achingly sweet. But I do have a fair amount of stuff to do. And you do need to organize a few things, such as your accommodations, the heroine said. They can stay with us, Izuku, and Aya looked up to find Carol floating above. My husband and I can look after them. She landed beside Hal and kissed his cheek. Missed you. Hey, at least it wasn't 9 months this time, Hal countered before turning to the heroine. We got space at our place for them, and I plan to stick around Earth for a month, train the new Green Lantern properly and such. And I'll be out in the sector checking in on things. Luckily, most planets can handle their own political situations or wars without our help, Izuku nodded. I will create the device, and Green Lantern will get it to you before I join Izuku in his patrols. Lovely. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this journey through What If Deku Became Green Lantern. We hope you found it as captivating as we did. A big thank you to D-Springtrap 212332 for creating such an engaging story. Don't forget to visit their profile on Wattpad for more fantastic works. The link is in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Zen and Fanfics for more intriguing explorations into fanfiction and fantasy. Your support helps us create more content like this, and we love hearing your thoughts and suggestions in the comment section. See you soon in the next video.